Hello, everybody. We are back with the next episode of the Irrelevant Podcast. This is the first episode of the new year. I can't believe that 2013 was 10 years ago. That's like so crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're here in 2023. Like, it doesn't even sound real. I still feel like we're in like 2016, honestly.
Yeah, anything prior to 2016 just doesn't feel real. Or this is the real deal because this shit
Right.
sucks so bad.
Yeah, 2016. I know everyone kind of remembered that as like the one of the worst years in like recent memories. Um, I mean, I guess because like 2015, I thought was epic. Um, 2014 was pretty great. I mean, I know it was only in like like fifth grade, but still, it was great for me.
It's also really hard to have a better frame of reference because we're not even 30 yet. So it's like life before we had to actually go on our own doesn't really mean anything. So I feel like COVID is like a good starting point for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also like this is kind of based off of what I hear from other people. Um,
Right.
what would you say?
I said, you are right, William.
Oh, I guess I am. Thank you for acknowledging that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, 2020, um, COVID happened. That kind of sucked.
I
I mean, I know it.
I am very glad that people do not give a shit about it anymore. I very
Yeah,
rarely pe-
no,
I very
that
rarely see people
is
wear masks.
100%. That was really annoying. Like, initially, I was fine with it, but then I got to a certain point. I was like, okay, like, I think we can stop, like, getting paranoid because, like, it's clear that this isn't, like, the Black Plague.
Yeah, and I don't think I think very few people or organizations or businesses require you to show you their vaccination thing, or for
Yeah,
you
and
to
we
Jesus Christ, I can't talk tonight. For you to show them your little card.
Oh yeah. We talked about that on the other podcast, how that was just completely unsustainable and how they were
Yeah.
gonna stop caring in like the next 2 months anyways.
I
So
guarantee you it's gonna. I mean, I'm sure it's already spawned a shit ton of lawsuits, but I can only imagine like if the state of the of people on it get worse, then it's just like they realized immediately the liability is insane.
yeah, there's a lot of people that think that like Fauci should be tried.
I go back and forth, and there's just too many people connected to it that allowed him to do what he did, and especially spanning over two presidents. So it's like started with Trump and then ended with Biden. So
Yeah.
it's hard to
That's a fair
say,
point.
but I don't know. The government always does this fucking bullshit. That's why I didn't fucking get it. Not
I mean,
because I know it's like people always like tout like pseudoscience, like oh they got microchips or it's fucking gonna change your DNA or all this other bullshit. It's just like I just don't trust what's in it. I have no idea, but I just don't trust it, and
my
I don't know.
my whole thing with all the COVID stuff and all the vaccine and all this stuff, it's like regardless of like are you for it or against it, it's like there's something that they're not telling us. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know which side it comes from, but like there's something that they're not telling us.
My only thing that I think they're lying about is like obviously it really does take 5 to 10 years of solid data to really conclusively say something, especially because currently with the way that how tentative science is now, especially like just in the daily products we use and the foods that we consume, it always flip flops, whether
Yeah.
it's safe or harmful. So it's like I don't think that like even if you're a medical professional, I think it's very disingenuous to say that 100% this is 100% effective and safe.
Yeah, but also we talked about this a lot, how like money is the driving factor, and of course they're gonna want to say that it's good
Oh
because they
yeah,
just want to make
government
money
paid
off
for it.
of
They're
it.
gonna fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly. Because people are like, oh no, it's free. I'm like, no, it's not. Nothing is free.
Yeah.
It comes from somewhere. Absolutely nothing is free.
But regardless, I don't know. I mean, millions of people got it, billions even. So who gives a shit? I'm just glad we're just back to normal. People, majority of the world's probably vaccinated. They're fine. Fucking
Yeah.
everybody's not wearing masks. Like, so who gives a shit? So we're just back to normal. I don't care. And 10 years down the line, if it ends up eroding your fucking kidney or liver or your whatever, fucking got them, I guess.
Oh, for the vaccinated.
Yeah, or if you got COVID in general, like if
Fuck,
it's
dude.
really the same thing, like if the vaccines give me a problem, I imagine people that got COVID and aren't vaccinated might have a problem too. You never know.
Maybe. I don't know. Either way, this was kind of fishy, and we don't know the full extent of what was involved. It's
I don't know.
just kind of annoying. But I don't know. I completely forgot about it until you brought it back up. I like it had never crossed my mind like COVID. I'm like, what?
It just is crazy to me that people have no trust in the government, but they have trust in the government appointed doctors that mandate the regulations. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, or like the government appointed scientists that
Yeah.
say, X thing. It's like, these people are just paid to say that this is what it is. It's not like they do actual research. Like, even if they do, it's just cherry picked and it's done because they want that to be the result, so they're going to do everything in their power to make it seem like it is.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't have the aptitude to challenge any of this. That's why it's like I don't make any conclusive statements. I just don't trust it. And I think the one thing that is very evident is that they really tried to rush to get this thing out. And honestly, I mean, if the virus was even, 2 times more deadly than what it was, like, no shit. Like, even if it causes you health problems down the line, if it stops you from killing, like, the majority of the population, then fine. But obviously,
Yeah.
everybody was rushed. Because I remember before, do you remember before the vaccine was eating out, people were shitting on Trump because he wasn't getting it done fast enough? And
Yeah.
everybody was super scared and everybody wanted a vaccine. And then when it came out,
Yeah.
everybody's like, fuck this thing.
Right. And then also, I was like, when everyone was saying like, "Oh, like Donald Trump he could have handled COVID better." I'm like, this would have happened to literally every president. Like, what do you want him to do?
The world was not prepared for this, and I mean, there's rumors
Right.
that they said that the like governments had knowledge of this before it spread to the wide public, and it would make sense, right? But
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
am not.
how much you need to
Yeah,
prepare for something like that? That literally put the world to a halt.
yeah, it did. Hey, but it let me get a guitar, so I'm thankful for that.
It's true. I mean, the last time this happened was like 100 years ago. I think in the 1920s. I think
What
it's the
was it
last.
like?
It was
Like
bird
polio
flu.
or something?
No, I think it's bird flu
Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
Spanish flu.
Okay,
One of those types of flus.
nice.
But I'm glad that it's over. I'm glad that people are done freaking out about it. I'm glad people are done like politicizing it. I'm tired of all the think pieces. I'm just glad we can move on with our fucking lives.
Yeah, I mean, it really just took a toll on like a bunch of people's mental health. A lot of people lost their jobs. Like,
Domestic violence was up because everybody's stuck in the house arguing.
yeah. I mean, fortunately for me, it brought my family together, which is nice.
Yeah, I feel bad saying it, but I remember I mentioned it before. Like it made me better. I was able to stop and focus on more important things and just take the time to have to myself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
for you and me, it hit us pretty good, I guess. I mean, obviously, it's not all good. It's fucking lockdown and everything, but I think in the end, like we really a lot of good came out for both of us.
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was because like medical shit always freaks me out. So in the very very beginning, I didn't know how bad of like I thought this was gonna be like movie levels of like report to your quarantine station before you die kind of thing. I thought it was gonna get there, but then the more that it came, I was more afraid to lose my job because entertainment is not a necessity. So,
No.
but what I didn't account for was people blowing all their stimulus check money on musical equipment and also like getting the payment protection program from the government. So, I essentially was only working like 3 hours a day to go ship instruments and still getting my full salary, which was nice.
That is nice, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't have it as nice as like the bureaucrats who just like had a 2 year paid vacation.
Well, I mean,
You know.
a lot of people really got fucked, especially if they got sick. Like, so financially, I think I made it out very lucky because I was able to rest and recoup while still like getting paid like I was working full time. So, and I was
Yeah.
nervous because that's the government's hard to trust when it comes like that. Like, are they going to take it back on your taxes? Are they going to make you repay it? But it ended up not being a problem. So that's the only
Yeah.
thing I think because people were pissed off about the government doing that, but it's just like that would have ruined our economy way more if they didn't. I think.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. Um, like you said, you worked. You didn't work full time, but you got paid for full time. I
Yeah.
worked full time. and I also got paid full time. So
You worked?
the only
Oh,
problem
because
is
you worked at
I
McDonald's, right?
yeah, there was talks about shutting it down, but it never did.
I find it funny that McDonald's was the one thing that just like throughout the whole entire like even like in the beginning, like during lockdown, you still went.
Yeah, no, but also like we were one of the only fast food restaurants in the area that kept um like that like never closed because some like they just stopped everything for like a couple weeks.
I guess they
But like
found a
some like
loophole
even
to be an essential worker.
yeah, I know exactly like yeah, I was an essential laborer.
Like we're gonna kill
McDonald's
everybody in
worker,
this country. We just want to do it slower. Than
right? Yeah. Yeah, because like the Taco Bell I know took a while to open back up again. Even when it opened back up again, like it was only drive through. Like we didn't have like the in person dining, but like you could still walk in the store and order something. Whereas like I know a lot of fast food restaurants you couldn't do that.
right.
Yeah, which I don't know how Chick-fil-A is. I remember they've kept that going for so long.
Their drive-through has always been efficient. I don't. I mean, I never really eat there because I don't eat fast food much in general. But like
Yeah.
the people that I'm friends with will go there every now and again. But I don't remember them like three to a lane rows of cars and they're walking around with like tablets like taking orders and it's running really efficiently. I don't remember that
Yeah,
before
they're
COVID, so I don't know if that was a new thing.
yeah, I don't know about that either. But all I know is that if you can impress my grandpa with that, then you know it's good.
Boomers.
Yeah, because like my grandpa like hates everything, and he's just like thinks everything's crap, and like it's just he's very hard to impress. And like when a fast food restaurant impresses him, like you know it's good.
I don't get it. Like objectively, it's like the shittiest food. Like for not just for you, just like in general. But that's the one thing that old people fucking love. Like they're so cynical about everything but fast food. It just it blows my mind.
They're cynical about that, and then they're also not cynical about what is it? Never mind, I lost it.
Damn. Right in the middle of the sentence.
Yeah, I fucked it up.
I know one thing that they're not cynical about is getting fucking scammed because they're so used to, dude. Like, cause my girlfriend's dad's kind of like that. He's like, he can't fathom a reality where things work differently. So if you like, hey, this is a scam, like, no, this is how it's supposed to work, and then it happens, and they're just like, how the hell does this happen? It's like, bro, the world's different.
Bruh. Nice.
I don't get why people just don't understand that their way of life is not the center of the universe. That's the one thing about old people I fucking hate. I mean, obviously people my age do that shit too, but like old people are so stubborn about it. Like they will not fucking budge until they die.
I don't know, dude. People are stupid. Like most people are stupid.
I think it's just I don't know. Like if I really ask myself and try to boil it down as to why, it's I can't tell if it's a cultural thing because like if you look at most old people in every country, they're stubborn as fucking. They're not going to change their ways from whatever they were raised as. So
I mean, okay, in a lot of these countries, like, can you really blame them?
I'm not saying if I blame them or not. I'm just trying to figure out if it's more cultural or if it's just like with age. And I think to an extent both. But you look at most every culture, all their old people are fucking stubborn.
Yeah, I mean, some for better reasons than others. Like, I mean, if you're Greek and you like hate the Turks and you just can't shake that, like, I really don't mind because like a lot of them were around at the time where they fought wars against each other. So as opposed to like if you're just like some Greek American fighting with some like Turkish American, I'm like that's stupid. You guys have like no connection to that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's different. That has more emotional play. I'm needing
Yeah,
for
like
more
okay, I'm
mundane
not
stuff.
right. Yeah, like I'm not saying you can't argue about that, but like I just feel like the old people, like you said, like you're talking about, like in Greece and Turkey, just have a more visceral, hands-on experience with that.
Well, I don't think if that's the case, I don't think it's just the old people. I feel like young people still harbor that sentiment too.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But like maybe I don't. I mean, probably not. But like maybe like they'll when like just the as the younger generation gets older, they might think differently. I don't know. Probably not, but um yeah.
One thing I do know
I
for sure, it's just these conflicts are never going away, and
Yeah. Part
fucking
of life.
I don't know. But tying that all back into the COVID shit, I'm so glad. Like, I can't stand the self righteous nonsense. Like, this whole like we have to protect old people, we have to do your part, we have to blah 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 blah. I'm so glad that shit's fucking done with. People are
It's
back to
just virtue
being
signaling.
Yeah, people are back to being the selfish, fucking careless individualists that they pretend to not be and go
No,
vote.
okay.
Like, I'm so glad this shit's over.
Virtue signaling, it's it's a very, and like obviously I'm guilty of this. We're all guilty of it because like it's such a cheap way to like go on the offensive, right, and just attack something when like because like it's just like it's not a good way of arguing things because like it's so cheap, like it's essentially cop out,
Well, it
right? And
requires no critical thinking. Like, you just pick a binary thing and
yes,
then you choose one side or
exactly.
the other. Then, yeah, both sides arguing. But I think it's worse because now there's a greater chance for a bigger audience. So it's like you have an obligation, if you don't find it exciting, that you have people listening to you. So you're either
Yeah, right.
forced to participate or take this like empty shell of pride.
Right. But also it's like you're just trying to like intellectually trap someone in a debate in a very, like I said, like cheap and easy way.
Yeah.
It's like this is not necessarily what I think, but this guy I know correlated that to the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima with the nuke. He just said like that was just too cheap and easy of a way to end a war. And obviously, like my opinions might be different, but that's just an analogy he uses, and I kind of and I'm okay. Well, virtue signaling isn't the same thing as nuking something because virtue signaling can easily be, called out on and just it can be exposed as bullshit. Whereas you can't reverse nuclear damage. Um,
Well, I mean, obviously, like I don't know what the ethical questions that they debated back and forth on, but I feel like in a war situation, it's just as like they wanted to get it over with as quickly as possible to prevent like further casualties or just develop more of their
oh yeah, that
resources. So
that's
I
what
feel
it
like
is. Yeah.
that's not an ethical question. That's more of like a defense question. Obviously, the
Oh
moral
yeah, like
implications are awful for nuclear bombs, but I mean, the alternative was to have more fighting and more dying until the
yeah,
wars eventually end the hard way, like a man. Like, I don't know, I don't get that.
yeah. Oh well, I mean, yeah, but that's not really what I was really referring to because like I said, my opinions on that aren't necessarily the same as the ones of my friend, but also like virtue signaling to me, it's a lot like swapping studies, which is actually something my sister talked to me about how when you swap studies just back and forth, like there's always going to be questions about methodology, who did this, when, why, how, like how peer reviewed is this, and it's like it inhibits your ability to debate in the abstract, right? Like when I debate someone with Islam, I'm not gonna virtue signal them and go, "Oh, terrorists," like all these like these dudes in concubine, like that's cheap. That's not a good way of arguing. Like what I'm actually gonna argue with them about is like the theology and like whether or not Jesus is God or not. Like they could do the same thing with me, about like the Inquisition, and stuff like that. And it's like I that's not a good way of arguing either. Like we can keep going on this back and forth of like scoring points and just like shooting those like historical hoops against each other, but like it doesn't really get us anywhere at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a religious debate, there's no religious debate that I think will be beneficial to people that are heavily into either religion. But yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a specific argument point and you're deflecting that by bringing up other shit that's kind of relevant but like not imperative to what you're talking about in the moment, it's a crutch. But yeah, and I hate that because like people, they need to be seen like they're heroic or they're a martyr or like they're the gatekeeper of justice or whatever the fuck. Like it's just gross to watch because not only is it disingenuous, it's just pure ignorance because they don't have the first-hand understanding to like impose their will over another person that has different experiences. Like you can argue back and forth about moral implications of decisions, but at the end of the day, you're only equipped to know what you know, and you don't really have a solution either. So, yeah, you're right. It's not going to go anywhere, even if you do find some sort of common ground.
Yeah. Um, and that's what unfortunately happens. And obviously, it's not everyone, but like when I've debated with a lot of Muslims or whoever else it is, whether it's like they follow some opposing ideology or whatever, they just typically tend to just use those attacking points against the church. Like, explain all of these. Like, why would you follow this religion if there's all these pedophiles within the institution, or like why would you do this? Why would you follow this religion that controlled all of Europe for the in the Middle Ages and oppressed people? Like, and I'm like, that's a good question, but or like, why does God do this? Why does God? And I'm like, can there be things that I don't understand? Like, that's kind of part of life.
Yeah, and especially for something like that where it's more of a personal choice. So it's like if you're, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like common sense. Like if you thought that like your personal church that you went to or like people that you associated with or knew like had any part in that, you would not want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Or
like I don't like this idea that we have to hold everybody accountable that you don't involve anywhere in your life to the same standard. So it's like you're only responsible for the people that you know and deal with and interact with.
right. Like, I mean, if I'm not like, if you ask me a question about the church, I'll gladly answer you. But I'm never gonna like, hey, Jason, are you interested in Catholicism? Like that's not the way of going about doing things.
No true missionary.
Um, no, that's kind of cringe. I mean, obviously we need missionaries, but
It just reminds
um,
me of the missionary that went to the Sentinel's island. Got fucking
yeah,
murked with arrows.
that sucks.
It's like, God, man.
I mean, he's got some balls. I'll give him that.
That's like
It's not like he's
that's not
wait,
even
wait.
bald because that's not even bravery. He just was that delusional that it was going to happen. So I don't even think he was nervous.
I don't know. I mean, you have no idea what to expect. Like, I don't know.
If
Like,
somebody's that ignorant and that determined to go to
how
an
do you know it's
uncon, what do
how
you
do you
mean?
know what's gonna happen if you go there? Like,
Because
I don't
any prior
know.
knowledge that people go to that island know that they are hostile. Like you're not allowed to go there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, that's yeah. I see what you're
So
saying.
you have to be completely ignorant to put your faith that God's just gonna magically transform them through your lens. So like it wasn't even bravery; he just was entitled to it. I guess I don't know. Like I said,
I
I doubt he was nervous. He probably thought that this was fate.
mean, points for trying. I don't know.
But
I
what
don't
kind of
know
message does that
something
send though?
about what.
Like nothing was learned. Like it's like common sense. It's like Darwin Award being played out in real life. Like you don't really learn anything. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. Like that's all you really can take from it. It's not like an act of courage. And even if he succeeded, he would have like give them a shit ton of diseases that probably would have wiped him out because they've been uncontacted for so long. So it's like all the way around, it would have been a shitty situation to like just not do. So it's
You
just
don't.
you don't learn
Yeah,
anything
but
from it.
you don't really know that for sure though.
For what do you mean? Know what for sure?
But like, it would just wipe out these people. I mean,
It's a
obviously
small
that.
island of like a couple hundred people, and like you bring a
No, I
disease,
know.
they're totally would eradicate them.
Well, you don't know for sure.
We're
You
like
go to like, well, yeah. I mean, like they went to the Aborigines in like Australia. They didn't wipe those people out. They're still there.
yeah, but they've had contact with them prior for a couple hundred years. Like these guys have not been
Not really.
the
I
Aborigines.
mean, or no. I mean, who are like the people in Tanzania? Those people had never seen anybody outside of their out of their island.
I guess I don't know like biology wise like how what this constitutes, but like that was the one like that's the reason why the Indian government made it illegal because they were concerned about some sort of virus that they had no immune system for because all that shit's regional. So I don't know I don't remember what the actual disease was, but that was like a legitimate concern, and obviously them being hostile and just repeated attempts of diplomatic contact failed, so they just made it off limits like for a multitude of reasons.
Oh yeah, like I'm not saying it's necessarily a good idea because also like there is the risk of the disease thing, like you said, but there's also like the risk of like the like bringing disease back overseas. You know?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a ton of reasons why it's not a good idea, and like just leaping from blind faith because you think you're arrogant enough to know what God wants you to do, and having that, I don't know, like I just that shit's just so cringe. You're right, it is cringy to me, and I mean it's an example. Like it cost him his life for being ignorant. So play carefully,
I,
lads.
I don't think. I mean, well, okay. In this day and age, maybe it is because he had all these things telling him it was wrong.
Yeah,
Well, not like morally wrong, but that like it's like, hey, these people are gonna like fuck you up. Um, I don't know. Like I said, I'll give him points for trying, and then like you really do never know what you're gonna get. Um, I don't know. Maybe you thought he was gonna get lucky.
I
I
wish
really
he
don't
was
know.
still alive so people could interview and be like, "What the fuck is going through your like goddamn head?" Like, like because like to me, I can't think of another reason. Like you have all the people telling you not to for one it's illegal, so like he had to fucking pay some local fisherman to go do this. So it's like he really had to think about it, and he made the wrong decision. It wasn't like something like it felt like he felt like it was his rite of passage or like it was his divine right to spread the message, but I don't understand why he picked that tribe. Like why he thought that was a good idea to do. Like every warning sign was just overshadowed by some sort of divine right, which
What
is
what
interesting.
kind of what kind of Christian was he?
I don't know. Is probably a fucking Latter Day Saint or something gay like that.
Well, yeah, in that case, no, it sucks. I disagree.
I'm not Latter Day Saint. Actually, you know what? Let's look up. I was thinking of Seventh Day Adventists because those guys are Jehovah's Witnesses. Um,
They're the
is the
same
same
thing.
thing? I don't know. I'm not
I don't
into
I don't
this.
think they are. I understood that
Um,
they were different. I mean, they're similar in like the cult aspects, but
who knows? But he was Asian, so
oh, he was Asian. Okay,
I believe
well, that's
so.
better. If he was white, people would have went flipped their shit. Like
People still were pretty mad.
I said, I don't care, but no, I'm just saying, like if he was like, I don't care what his ethnicity is, but if he was white, people would have flipped their fucking balls.
He was 26 too. His name was John Chow.
Dun Chow.
John
Nice.
Chow. Um,
Nice.
let's see. It just says he was a Christian missionary.
Okay.
I don't.
Self self proclaimed.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This it's just when I see shit like this, it's just like it's so preventable. Like any shred of common sense would tell you not to do it. It's not even like, oh, this is a challenge I can overcome, especially by yourself. Like that's not even like if his
Um,
best case scenario was I'm hoping for a miracle, or maybe he thought the miracle was definite. I don't know.
well, I'll end it here, and then I think we should start talking about the movie.
Oh shit, I
Um,
forgot about the fucking movie.
I know, right? But okay, I'll end it here, and then I'll talk about, and then we'll lead into the movie. So I give him credit where credit is due in the sense that he had major balls because like he there's very likely something bad was going to happen, and I respect him going to the Sentinel Islands much more than Protestant missionaries that go to Catholic countries in Latin America and we're like, hey, we're converting these people from one type of Christianity to a slightly different form of Christianity. Oh, yep, and just pat you on the back. You know, you're a missionary, you're brave, and it's like, no. How about you go to Thailand, where like no one is Christian, and it is extremely looked down upon if one is. You know, like how about you go there? You know, or like go to Burma, go to Vietnam. Like no, that's a challenge.
That's
That's
a
hard.
yeah,
Yeah, like that's
global
something you
challenge.
should. Yeah, well, yeah, right. Yeah, like yeah, you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um.
My ending
Anyway,
statement on it is get fucked.
nice. Um. So Jason and I watched a movie
We did.
titled Babel by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, one of the three amigos.
Were they
And
referring to the Tower of Babel, or is it another word in another language?
pretty sure it is referring to the Tower of Babel because the Tower of Babel held like all of the languages, remember?
Okay, I kind of figured, but I just didn't know if there
Or
was another
no,
Spanish word or something.
remember Babel was like the Tower of Babel was like the like man was trying to build all the way up to heaven and just get to heaven by their own means without God, and then God punished them by like he dispersed them,
Oh,
gave them all separate languages and everything.
okay. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's kind of what I get out of it. I haven't heard that in an interview, but like I assume it is because, right? The whole movie is about like it has four different timelines and locations and stuff like that. Or sorry, four different plot lines. And it's all about how they're interconnected without them even realizing it, and how like the world is like it's so like disconnected, and it's so big and everything, but it's also like connected and there's hope, at the end of the day. It's a really, really interesting, unique movie.
It's kind of hard to talk about because there's literally different stories going on at the same time. So anytime we like go and diverge into different characters, we have to fucking explain that
Yeah,
storyline.
yeah, because like
You really
it's
picked a good
like
one.
yeah, I know, because it's like four different movies in one
Yeah.
movie, but it works. That's what's like so miraculous about it.
Yeah, I like how they link together too, because sometimes when movies try to like intertwine different storylines, they make some unbelievable tidbit of how they're related. But I feel like this one was a little bit more modest, which was nice.
Yeah, no, and you actually could buy that it was
Yeah, you could buy
real.
that it happened. I mean, I don't even know where to start to explain it to even connect. I feel like we have to give some sort of like background into all the stories very lightly.
Yeah, but this is what I really love about Iñárritu's movies, for the most part, that is how real they feel, and how like you could like it legitimately could be like happen,
Right.
you know, which is it's just it's crazy. And like I mean, obviously he shoves in stuff that doesn't need to be in there, like we talked about, like in the Moroccan storyline. There's literally like okay,
Yeah, let's talk about it.
yeah, so there's like a child, not incest, but it's like
It wasn't incest.
no, but like it's because I don't know really. I was just trying to put one word on it and I couldn't. I apologize.
Oh.
It's like because like they're out in the middle of the desert, haha. Like I mean, I'm not saying it's humorous, but it's like there's nothing else to do. So oh yeah, brother is gonna spy on the sister, and it's like okay, that's fine. People do that all the time. Like it's really not. But then it's like, do you really need to show a scene of like a little kid? Like
Yeah, so like that's I mean it would make sense in real life, like yeah, like if you're from some small village in sub-Saharan Africa and your sister is the hottest bitch in the tribe, you know, but they didn't have to show the kid jacking off on a mountain like that.
yeah, I know, and also like the way it was like shot, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like imagine them directing that guy. How much that must have been like the most awkward, like creepiest thing.
Yeah, I would not want my kid to do that.
No, I
And
mean,
like
I know they have to sign like contracts and like permission, especially if they're a minor, to do certain things like that
right. I
from their
mean,
parents, or if you're 18 plus, like yeah, you have to agree. Like yeah, I'll do this. I'll do a scene naked, or I'll put a spider on my face or stuff like that. So they do consent to it,
yeah.
which I mean, I guess I have to give them that. And
I
it's really
don't
like
I don't know,
what?
man. My I mean,
No, I
I'm
mean
kind of
at the end of the day, it's really creepy and makes me feel uncomfortable. Which
it's
I honestly, what?
sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, which at the end of the day, like it literally brings the movie like a whole point down. I mean, the movie's still great. I give it a great score, which I'll mention. But it's like it would be so much better if that wasn't in the movie.
Yeah,
I'm like
and
that scene is so terrible.
yeah, and I'm conflicted because my opinion's kind of changed. I've generally usually of the opinion, like, especially because they're trying to go for like realness or rawness or shock value, but not just to be edgy, but like to show like the grittiness of real life, right? It's the same kind of premise
Yeah.
with rape scenes. It's like it happens, but should we depict it or not? And for the most part, like I'm always of the opinion, like as long as it's not real, you can pretty much do whatever. But my
Yeah.
my opinion has kind of changed with children because especially from an entity like Hollywood and how much of a grooming organization that they are and how much they just sneaks subliminal pedo shit into all of our forms of media. Like it just makes me sick watching that being represented, because the people that are going to be enticed by it are going to, be they're gonna go crazy. So
I mean, it's
when it
like it's
comes to
soft.
kids, I don't think they should be
It's
subjected to doing, even if it like, yes, it's a good job portraying real life, but I don't have a problem with like, adults that look like teenagers and they're playing teenagers doing that. Like I feel like that's probably where my line goes.
that kid was like
Yeah.
11 years old or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Like, if that, like he might have been younger. And also, it's like that was literally just like softcore porn.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm like,
because it
that
wasn't even.
scene. It's just, and like then again, it only happens for like 3 seconds, which
Yeah, obviously they didn't
I can
show anything, but like still.
no, yeah, but like you can still shoot it in a certain way where it's like okay, like you know. But also, I'm like, I can kind of forgive it, like I said, because it literally only lasts like 3 seconds and it never comes back again.
I mean, I
Um,
don't feel like the whole point was to give you a little bit of softcore porn. I think the whole point was to illustrate what life is like there. Like I got that, but I don't know. I just think
yeah, yeah,
the implications are
maybe
just
the
too
in
strong these days.
right. Like I kind of agree with you that that's more what it was going for. But even so, like even if that's what it was going for, I don't think it necessarily worked
Yeah,
just because it was going for it.
like you could have he
Yeah.
could have just stopped at him spying on his sister, because we would have filled in the blanks in our heads. Like that's what he's going to eventually do. Like he didn't have to go and portray it, I guess.
Yeah, or he could have just like yeah, like he could have just shown it in like a more creative way where he's like, "Hey, I'm going off to do what? I don't know," and then just leave it there.
And I
I don't know,
hold
like
the kind of opposite sentiment for rape scenes, but only very lightly. Like most people these days get really mad if there's a rape scene, and I think it's important to show like visceral stuff, especially like mentally, to help you get over it. Like if it keeps keeps triggering a trauma response in you, you have to find some way to overcome it. So, but again, like
mm,
if the whole point of the movie is just to, you know, service rape fantasy people or people that actually get a thrill out of it, then it's a different story. But I don't know. I'm not inherently against like raw scenes just because they're, inherently crude or grotesque. But I think the intent is
yeah.
also behind it. But again, anything with kids, I think, is off limits.
I think okay, so the only Iñárritu movie that doesn't have that kind of thing in it is Amor Sparrows.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Almost okay, and like I'll show you some more of his movies. Almost all of his other movies have a scene like that with the kid in Morocco, and I'm like, does that really need to be there?
See,
Like,
that makes me think that
why?
that is his angle then, because if he puts it in every movie, like that's just what he enjoys.
No. It's not necessarily like a kid.
Oh,
That's not. No.
okay. I
No.
was
That's
like,
not.
that's getting pretty
It's like
sus then.
no. Definitely,
It's like
definitely.
Quentin
But like he,
Tarantino and feet, bro.
right. But it's like what I was saying is like he just puts something in there where it's just like okay, like he has a like you've seen The Revenant, right?
Yeah.
Like that rape scene, I was like, okay, that's clearly just an fu to like Western civilization. I'm like, shut
Yeah.
up, like
Which is why it goes on longer than what it needs to be. It's meant to make you uncomfortable. No camera
right,
shaking, just fucking high def rape.
right, and it's like, of course. Well, actually, I think like the way it wasn't that bad,
I
and it
might be
wasn't.
thinking of it. I thought it was like a brutal scene in it. I might be thinking of a different
No,
movie.
it's not. It's not that bad. It actually like it's just. It's not violent. I mean, obviously, like it is clear what is happening, but it's not like violent and like just they're screaming. Like it's just like. But what I don't like about it is they just depict the French dude as just like this like just this idiot who is just obsessed with like with doing it with this Native American woman and I'm
Yeah.
just come on, like did that happen? Like sure maybe, but it's like I don't know.
You know what's funny
I'm like you're clearly just trying to send a message here, which
yeah.
when you do that, that's where I kind of draw the line.
Now that I think about it, you remember in a lot of like war movies that depicted medieval or Vikings or ancient Greece or whatever, there's always that scene where they storm the city and like they grab the fucking screaming woman and just start raping her while everybody's fighting. Remember those kind of scenes?
I haven't really seen as much of those
like
movies.
like Troy, and that shit was in Vikings too. Like most movies
I
that depict like ancient battles always have a scene where some screaming woman's being dragged to the wall to get fucking pounded. I'm just like, what the fuck?
I've never seen Troy. I've never. Have you seen Kingdom of Heaven?
I think so.
Okay, because I haven't seen that either, but I'm sure that would totally put that in there.
I don't know. I guess it just
Um,
depends on like what they actually show and how long it is and what the purpose of it is. I get, but if it's just
Definitely.
a rape scene just to have one, it's just like it's kind of a crutch too. What's the point?
Right.
But I'm not against having
Right.
shocking things be a part of your story if it actually adds to it.
Yeah, right. Not because like if it's like all the value in it is just the shock, then
Yeah,
it doesn't really have anything.
exactly. Especially if it's like
Which
historical. If they add like extra shit that didn't actually happen as a dramatization, that is kind of that to me is a little bit not the fact that they did it, just the fact that like they're portraying an already bad situation even worse by something that didn't actually happen.
because I'm fine if you do that if you take creative liberty, but don't try to say that it's based off a true story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Like, yeah, they'll
just
say that, which means like the events happen, but everything dialogue is bullshit. Like,
yeah, right. No, like Inglorious Bastards isn't like a historical. It doesn't claim to be a historical film. It's just like this is just a fun alternate history
well, that's
thing,
a
you know?
complete fictionalization. It's not even like,
Exactly, though.
yeah,
Well, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because like that is clearly not trying to be as a yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Um, but what was really okay, like I mean, this Babel has a lot of shocking moments. It's not like it is a very like it's not dour. It's like it's hard to describe what it makes you feel.
I
You know?
remember the one that made me the. I was trying to think of the storyline that made me the most sad. The one that was the most depressing, I think, was the Japanese girl one.
That was pretty sad.
And,
Um,
and pretty much the backstory for everyone listening is this. God, I'm trying to figure out the best way to tie this in. All right, so this high school, she's in high school, right? Like that's her thing.
yeah.
Yeah, so she's in high school, and her dad is some really rich, successful guy, and he ties into the African story because he went hunting in Africa and he lended this guy a rifle, which sold it to the family of the kid that shot the American tourist. So
Yeah.
she's basically by herself all the time, and I guess the trauma of seeing her mom die, or I can't remember if she actually saw it or whatever, like her mom dying just made her become a nymphomaniac for some reason, so she's trying to find sexual gratification from everybody she can find, to like people that are randomly in the street, school, her fucking dentist, the detective. And
Yeah.
the funny, like the most unintentionally funny scene in that whole movie is like the detective's asking her questions, and then she comes back in the room completely naked, and like he's hesitating whether or not he wants to partake in this endeavor, and then he ultimately is like, no, this is wrong. And then she starts crying, he consoles her, and then the mood should have been established, like, she has trauma, he's there for her, not sexually, he's trying to help her out, and then immediately she goes back to sucking his finger, and I just lost my mind. It was so fucking funny.
Yeah, that was weird. Or wait, was she doing something else, or she just?
She was
Oh
no,
no,
like,
yeah, no, no, you're right, you're right.
no, like the ruse was up, like she was crying already and he was comforting her, and then just started right back up again after that's been established. It was just fucking, it's sad, but it's just the most unintentional funny scene in the fucking thing.
Yeah. I really did like. I mean, I liked all the plot lines because I think this might be like I don't want to speak for you, but I could tell like you probably liked this better than Amore Sparrows, right?
um
Or if not, then you could tell me later why. But
I don't know. I think I might have liked Amores Perros a little bit better. The pacing on this one was a little bit longer, but I think everything was congruent. Like, I don't know. I feel like this one
but
is more depressing.
I mean, Amore Sparrows is depressing too.
Yeah, but it has more comical moments in it, like not
True, and
unintentional comical moments.
right, and also like the first like a lot of the first plot line is like kind of upbeat. You know, it's got like the montage scenes with like the dog fighting.
Right.
Um, yeah, I could say. I remember you said you weren't really a fan of the second plot line.
Yeah, that one was a little bit. Actually, I forgot about that. That wasn't that movie. So I maybe.
Yeah, because I think you would say that like the plot lines in here you liked them all, right? In
Yeah,
Babel.
I actually I think as like as movies go, I think this was a better movie. But for some reason, I like the Morris Perros better. I don't know why.
Mars Peros, like I mean, like I was trying to tell you, it's so unbelievably good, and like the more you watch it, it's a masterpiece. It's I think it's one of the best movies of the 21st century so far.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And I think my favorite overall was the one we watched before this. I'm blanking on the name of it.
Um.
When that guy has they're trying to get to the states and he's outrunning the gang of
Oh.
the boss he killed.
Sin nombre.
Yeah, I think I like that one the best.
Actually, funny enough, like that one the least out of the ones we watched. I mean, I still love it, but
That's what makes this a great show. We're two different people.
yeah, we have different
But
opinions. Even though at the end of the day, it's really no. I'm just kidding. Um,
finish your
at the end of the
sentence, bro.
day, we look different, but we're really the same person.
Yeah, one of us is
um,
undercover.
yeah. So, like, would you say that Babel is more balanced than Amores Perros?
In believability, yeah.
Well, not that. I mean, like in terms of like the quality of each plot line, because I
Oh
remember,
yeah, yeah. I
I,
think so too.
like, would you argue that Amores Perros, even if like the second plot line is weaker, like the other two are so good, it just like it makes the movie better than Babel? Because I would argue that. I mean, even though
My
I don't think the second plot line is bad. I mean, obviously, I don't think it is as good as the other two, but it is
my
clearly the weakest one. But I just think like the first plot line and the third plot line just they could be like their own movies. They're so good.
my biggest problem was with how that movie ended. I hate that cliffhanger walk into the desert sunset ending. Like that was my
He's
biggest problem with it.
also that is also where we disagree because I don't really think he was riding into the sunset because like you don't even know what he's gonna do. You
Right, that's
know?
what I'm saying. They left it on such an ambiguous note. It's just like, okay. Like it felt like
No,
everything came
but
to
it's
no
like
point.
no, but it's almost like well, I mean he did do something good, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like you can ask questions. You're like, why didn't he try to actually stay with his daughter? Like, where is he going? Like, what are his plans? It like, and it didn't portray it as like a happy ending, like Indiana Jones riding into the sunset. It
That's
was
what I'm
kind of just
saying.
like
It didn't have
no,
a
but it did.
conclusion in my opinion. Like it didn't have to be happy or sad. Like there was just no conclusion.
I mean, that's just. I mean, like I don't know. We disagree about this, but I just think that's just kind of like the point of the movie, and just like the emptiness that we feel in our lives now. And I'm not, and but it didn't come across to me as like some like overly depressing like stoner like oh like just the pain, dude. Like
I
I'm
mean I
like
yeah.
I think he pulled it off in a very clever and tasteful way. Also, even with like the brothers, how you don't really know what happens with them. It's just like I'm fine with that too. Like just something happened. I don't know. Like did it even really matter? you know.
I guess it's because I've just seen that type. Like if you're like, it's fine if you're gonna have a movie like not like that's the point. But I feel like I've seen that just end scenes so many times in different movies where it just the last scene is just the fucking main character walking off in the distance to no conclusion. Like I just feel like it's a cop out way to end it in that way
I
specifically.
I can see what you're saying, like the argument you're making. I just think that he did it like in your two did it right though. I think so.
It wasn't as cheesy, but I think it's my same problem with movies that use the schizophrenic. Where people are like, oh, the whole movie didn't happen. It was just all in his head. Like I can't stand that fucking trope. And I
Oh
feel
no, that's awful. I mean, it was fine when they did it in the Sixth Sense because that was like it was a novelty, you
yeah.
know. You have seen that, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that's a cool twist, but obviously, like certain twists, like they just start trends where it's like, can we not do this? Like, well, and this isn't a twist, but like, I remember Toy Story 2 started the trend of like every animated movie needs to end in a musical number. I'm like, why? Like we've seen this.
Yeah. That's probably the worst of all sins. Musical.
Yeah, if you fuck up music, that's like half of the movie experience. So
For real, dude.
yeah. So you liked the Japanese plotline the best? You said.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't relate to being a nymphomaniac, but like I can like relate to like the emptiness and the that like ethereal not depression, but like that just that feeling of being alone with yourself in that way, and like you don't have like one relationship of value. So I feel like in that way that related more with me than the other plot lines. Um,
It was an interesting take, and like I haven't really seen other movies like that. So but then again, like I feel like if other movies try to tackle like a similar subject, it just would fall flat on its face.
yeah, I mean
Because it would just be like some Oscar bait kind of movie.
yeah, be it. It would you just like imagine all the people wearing suits clapping at the Oscars when you see the scene. It's like, ugh, do we really need this?
Right. Which is like I
Circle
typically like
jerk.
movies. Right, like I typically like movies where that doesn't happen. Because like, is there at any point of in the whole Amoris Perros, like, is there any point where you can just picture like the people in Hollywood going like, oh man, like it doesn't happen.
They probably would go for like the dog fighting aspect of why it's
But like,
wrong and blah 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 blah.
no. I mean, like a moment where the audience like applauds. Like that's just the moment where it happens.
Oh yeah, no, I can't think of a single scene in that movie. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly, and it's neither with this movie.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, it's a sensational thing. Like, they don't purposely make a dramatic scene to make you feel good, which I can't stand. Like, I really can, like if there's one thing I'm gonna stay cynical for the rest of my life, it's just the way that Western movies just force this bullshit, just cheesy goddamn scenes that it makes me it physically makes me sick.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's what like Iñárritu's movies are very much like not filled with, which is what I love about his movie so much. Like I said about like just the realism, but not to the point where it just feels like a documentary.
Yeah,
It still feels like a movie and like a plot line with characters. But it just he's very creative in the way that he constructs his worlds.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was weird to see Brad Pitt in a movie like this
How so exactly?
because like he really didn't play that big of a role
I guess
in the
that's true.
movie. Like he was a background character essentially, even though they gave him a lot of screen time. Like they didn't really like the only thing that you got from him that he just was really passionate about saving his wife. Like he didn't really have any sort of like deeper character arc than that. And the same
Yeah, it
thing
was
with the
pretty. Yeah, it was pretty simple and just kind of mysterious.
yeah.
Not necessarily in like the ooh mysterious, just in the sense that like we just didn't really know.
But that's why I was saying it's
Um,
surprising he's in a movie like that playing that type of
I
character because he
guess.
usually like you usually can figure out like the kind of character that he plays because he kind of plays similar characters. Even though he has the same
Yeah.
personality in this movie, but his character is completely mundane.
I mean, he still does a good job.
No, I'm not saying he does a
Um,
bad job. I'm
but
just saying it's strange that he's in this movie playing this kind of character.
yeah, yeah, like you're saying, like it just didn't seem like a character he would play. I thought you were
Yeah.
telling me like in the movie itself.
No, no,
Like
no. Like him personally, like
I got you.
I don't know why he chose to do this movie and play this
I don't
character.
know. Maybe they paid him a bunch of money.
They would have to, I'd assume. Jesus, it's because especially this was older. This is more when he was in his prime. So I
Oh
assume
yeah,
he'd be
because like if
super expensive to hire.
no, because if like someone like him wasn't in this movie, like who would even like know about this movie? Who would even like who in America would hear about this movie made by like a Mexican director about like three different plot like but it's like Brad Pitt's in it. Oh, totally, I'm going to see it. Like they
Americans can't even
that,
follow one plot line, let alone three.
exactly, and
They
it's
have no
all in like
attention span.
four, five different languages. It's
Yeah,
like there's no way. Like if Brad Pitt wasn't in this movie, I'm not saying it wouldn't be as good. It's like it wouldn't have. No one would even. We wouldn't probably even be talking about, or I would probably know what it is because I know all this like Spanish kind of like rabbit hole stuff, but like the average person wouldn't really even know about it, which they probably only don't even. But like You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, that's probably why they
Um,
got him in the first place. I'm just surprised he accepted.
Maybe it was fun. I don't know.
Maybe it looked like it was fun, even though it was depressing
Yeah.
as fuck.
Yeah. Um,
um,
but that's part of the reason why I like Amores Perros better is because I think it has a lot stronger characters.
yeah, that's the one thing this movie didn't really have was because like that's why I'm saying like the Japanese girl, you really got more like in depth into her character, and the same thing with the Spanish lady that was the babysitter. Like you could get more of her kind of ideas about things, I guess, and her sacrifices and her errors and her realizing her errors. So like you got some development from her too, but those really were the only two characters that had the depth. Because the thing about the Moroccan one, like none of those characters had any sort of depth to them at all, like the kids or the dad.
Definitely, yeah, they were kind of two dimensional.
Yeah, so that's
I mean, I still liked them. Like the dad was like,
it fit for sure.
oh yeah, and like you know how like there's certain characters really even if they're not deep, like you still like and care about them. Like the just by how they how they're how like the actor performs and like what he looks like even can help you know because like the you see the dad and like you just you know you just kind of smile like he's just a nice looking guy you know just on the farm I don't know like
Yeah, I
and
mean,
also like you can tell that like he cares about his family and like his sheep and everything.
yeah, and that's the one thing I actually kind of do respect is like that's kind of our downfall because like in our pursuit for diversity, we have to make every sort of ethnic character like super multifaceted, super good at everything, and just very hyper intelligent. But like you go to fucking Morocco, you probably find like 10 of those dudes in the village.
Yeah, that yeah exactly like that's what I was about to say is that like I guess like because you know it is kind of like that's not far off from like what real life would be like we'd
Yeah.
probably go to Morocco and like you said see people that were like that you know where it's like their lives are just so simple
Yeah, like if I
like
go to some
for
fucking
ours
farming
yeah
town in Morocco, if I walk up to the dude, he's not going to be like, "Yes, I think the implications of our geopolitical systems or countries are affecting our economic standpoint in agriculture." He'd be like, "Why you take my sheep?"
right, like he would just probably be like yeah he'd just be like salam alaikum like you
Yeah,
know
like he's fine. He's just a regular guy. He doesn't have to
he's
be a
just
fucking
chilling.
international spy who can make MacGyver everything. Like I hate that shit so much. It's like they can't just let people be
MacGyver.
people.
Right, I'm like, why do we all need to? No, because diversity it just means like you want us to look different, but we have to think all the same, you know.
Yeah. It's like
So
if
it's
you don't
like,
have a white British villain and some girl with curly hair that is super smart, like it's not a real movie.
no, definitely not. Yeah,
But
actually, yeah, the more I think about it, like, I guess I didn't have a problem with the Moroccan characters just being kind of like
yeah,
Moroccan.
yeah,
I
I
don't
kind of
know.
talked myself out of my own point, so never
I
mind.
know, yeah. I guess yeah. We both go back on our point,
Never mind. I retract that. There's a great
right?
character.
And it's not like they weren't like. It's not like I didn't care about them. You know, I liked them.
I feel bad for
Or
the
like it's
brother
yeah, that was sad,
because
dude.
he got lumped in the shit and he's the one that got shot and fucking killed.
I I know that was
Or
really
did he
sad.
die? I think he died.
I think he did, yeah,
Yeah, it's just like
yeah,
damn.
that was sad. And then like I remember when like the cop asked the kid like, "Is it does you know what's his name live there?" And he's like, "No, he lives over there." He's like, "If you're lying, I'm gonna cut your balls off." That was like, and then nice.
Yeah, that's something that would happen in real life. Two cops to say that shit.
Yeah, but Iñárritu is very good with like tension too, you know, and like having like scenes that are just they're so tense, you know, without it feeling like overbearing, and like he's very good at like building up tension and stuff. You know, like it's just
Yeah,
like the scene where the boys just explain that like they were the one who shot the bus and all this stuff, and then you know like it's very like a lot of stuff just kind of pours out in the movie, which is a lot like real life. You know, like if the situation was to happen, it would be mayhem. You know.
I don't know if people would give that much of a shit. Like how they made it seem like it was such a big diplomatic problem for some American lady to get shot on a bus in the middle of
Oh,
nowhere.
that's I wasn't really talking about that. I was just talking about like the actual like family in Morocco.
Oh,
how like they're just literally like they're like wait what are you talking about and then the brother goes like hey my brother like watches my sister and then the dad's like what like yeah like that it just felt very natural I don't know.
Yeah. At one point, he's like, "Why have you done this to us?" And he just kept smacking him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he slapped his daughter too.
Yeah, he bitch slapped his whole family except for the
Yeah.
mother. Um,
Wait, she didn't. Yeah, she didn't. She was chilling.
yeah, she was just she just looked concerned the whole movie. She didn't fucking say anything.
I think she maybe said like one thing.
Maybe, but the whole movie she was just staring, just
Oh
observing.
no! Remember, she asked the boys to like watch the sheep.
It's a very important line.
Yes, but she still said
Go
something.
watch the sheep.
I mean, she kind of noticed that they were like down. I don't know.
No, I know. I just think it's funny, like which is, I mean, it is a real dynamic. Like I can walk into a fucking place right now. There's some old fucking ethnic bitch just staring at me, not saying anything. Like that's real. That happened.
Yeah, that's a thing that we observe in nature.
Dude,
It's real.
my girlfriend's mother is Filipino, and I remember the first time I ever met her. Like I walked into the house, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Jason. Nice to meet you." And she just like she didn't say anything. She just like sternly stared at me, and then just like went back to whatever she was reading. I've never had a one conversation with her mom.
Nice, nice. Well, good luck with that.
Well, anyway, but yeah, I mean, that's what I did like about the movie. It was believable, in that way with one-dimensional characters as opposed to just being background characters.
Right, and like it obviously like they didn't feel like stereotypes, like they still definitely like represented the respective cultures that they pertain to,
Yeah,
without it feeling like it was just stereotypes. Like I still actually, like I said, I liked the characters. I wanted to keep watching, even if, like we talked about, like they were different and were pretty representative, I guess, of the culture they were representing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was well done. I'm trying to think of other portions of the movie that I enjoyed or related to. I think the one,
Mexico.
yeah, we didn't really talk about the Mexican one. Basically, the American, the guy that's wife got shot while he was in Morocco. A Mexican babysitter was watching his two kids, and basically she wanted to go to her son's wedding in Mexico, and could not find a way to have somebody cover her, so she ends up taking the kids with her to Mexico to this wedding, and then trying to get across the border, they run into some trouble. Her nephew was being smart with the fucking border patrol agent because he was drunk, and then they sped out of there, and then he basically ditches them in the middle of the desert, and she's with these fucking kids dehydrated, and then she eventually finds Michael Pena, who is a
Kiki,
geeky, who
baby.
is a rude border patrol agent, which is really funny,
Yeah. I know,
and
because like in
arrest her. It's really cosmically
yeah,
funny.
but okay, like one of the biggest problems I had with that, the whole going back into America, going through the border patrol thing is like when the cop asked the little girl like, "Hey, is she your auntie or whatever?" I'm like, and she just said no. It's like most little kids would probably just be like, "No, but she's my babysitter," you know.
I don't know. Sometimes, like, if you ask kids a direct question, they won't elaborate on it. They'll just like directly answer
Okay.
you. So that I don't. I could see that, like, especially because like some kids would do that shit. Like they would just say the wrong thing to get you in trouble. Like I imagine like she would turn around and fucking slapping her with a flip flop really fucking hard. It's
I
like, bitch, you
guess,
know me. I
but
fucking raised you.
right. Even so, though, I just was like, I don't know, didn't really feel genuine. And also, like when the babysitter literally just like leaves behind the kids to go find help, I'm like, would she really do that?
Yeah, that
I
part
don't
didn't
know.
make sense. Like, you're
Well, cause
statistically
she,
gonna die either way, so you might as well bring them with you. It's less time.
well, no, it's because she didn't want them to keep walking because they were already like so tired.
She could have carried them on each shoulder because she was carrying one
Oh,
of them. She could have fucking water barreled it.
I know, but yeah, exactly. But that's why I'm just like, I really don't see why uh, anyone would do that. Like that was kind of didn't really make any sense. And then she found Kiki, dude. When she found Kiki, it was like
in
He's Kiki now. Like he's not Michael Pena now. He's Kiki.
in my head, like just because he usually doesn't play like antagonist, like I thought it was gonna be all right, like that it was gonna end on a happier note, but it just didn't.
Was he really that bad though? I don't know.
Well, no, he wasn't bad, but like he's usually not like the opposing
Oh,
character.
he was serious, yeah, and he was
Yeah,
like she asked her he asked her a bunch of questions and then she was telling him about, hey, there's the kids, and he's like, oh, you got to bring them to me, like what's going on. Like he was just very serious and like by the book, you know.
yeah, which is it threw me off because like even in Narcos when he was playing a serious DEA agent, he still had his like sense of humor and his like machismo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, yeah, and like he wasn't like he wasn't really like I'm following the rules. Like, he was definitely like I'm doing my own thing. Like remember there
yeah,
was a lot of times where he wanted to just go and take out like Rafa, or he wanted to go do this by himself, and he's like, why can't I just like do my own thing, or like why don't you trust me? Like whereas like him as the border patrol agent who's very much like, you know, just by the book and everything. Which yeah, which is kind of weird because like we're just yeah, and that is interesting how you
yeah.
brought that up because when I saw him as Kiki in Narcos Mexico, I it was really weird for me because like, you know, I thought that was a weird role for him, but yeah, they like looking back at it, yeah, I guess I was wrong because like he does still have his Michael Pena ness in it, and
I
he's also
honestly think
still
it's his best character because like he's a really good fucking
yeah
actor. Like people overlook him because he's goofy, but like he fucking really is a good actor.
yeah, and also like he still maintained like his Michael Pena goofiness,
Yeah,
you know, which makes which I really like about him, you know,
yeah.
and
That I
that's what
mean,
a lot of people like him.
not to derail it to talk about that, but that honestly it was the most depressing thing in my life was like his family down there with, and especially like just like you falling for their characters like with his wife and their kid and all that, and then like for him to die like that and then just leave it. Oh, dude, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, watched like the first episode of season 2.
Oh,
Yeah, like
did you? So you haven't seen it yet?
no, I did I see Kiki die? Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. I can't remember if that was in
He
season one or two.
dies like the second to last episode of season 1.
Okay. Yeah, dude, that was fucked.
Yeah, that was brutal. Like they just captured the doctor that gave him like that adrenaline shot,
Yeah.
and they extradited him, I think. And also like Felix is just like a total dick. Any semblance of me liking him is just like gone. He is an awful human being.
Yeah, his character became unlikable really quickly at the end of the series because he was like he had the opposite effect of fucking Pablo was because like him like he you could tell like well you thought that you could tell that he actually did it for the right reasons, like he was just a businessman, like he wasn't a fucking psychopath until he kind of like I don't know if it made him that way or if he just kind of showed his true colors at the end, but like he was a very
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
he
And
was a
like,
likable character. He really was. And
oh
I
yeah, no,
obviously he probably wasn't
Pablo
like that in real life, but the way that they portrayed him was Diego
definitely,
Luna is
definitely.
also a very good actor too.
He is. You know, I'm yeah, like he gives a great performance, but yeah, it was the character more so that we were critiquing. Like yeah, like you're saying like Pablo Escobar well, in Narcos, we must say like in real life he was probably like a lot more depraved. Like um even if he did like cheat on his wife a couple times, like he still like admitted that he was wrong, you know? And like he eventually, you know, like you said, like he was doing it for his family.
Yeah.
And
My impression of him was
that
that he
was the
just
most
kept
important thing to him.
yeah,
Yeah.
he just kept going into the lifestyle until it just obviously if you get sucked into that, you're just gonna keep going until you lose your mind and then lose yourself as a person. So, I
Oh
can't
right,
say that
because
I would
like
be the same way. Like I can't say I would have my full moral standing if I decided to be more of a self not self-proclaimed but like more of a successful drug dealer and having to make hard decisions. Like I feel like most people would lose themselves if they're put in that position.
I mean, yeah, like he just had so much money. I guess it was just like, what do you
Yeah,
do? Like
yeah. He became too
ah
greedy.
man,
That was his problem, and which is the problem and the downfall of most people is like his greed and his
yeah,
lack
but
of
oh, definitely. But I just think
direction.
like, yeah, even in the end, even if it was that, I still liked him to the end, which is not the case with with Felix. Whereas like I know the story is not done yet, but just now I'm like, okay, Felix, you're an awful person. Like yeah,
Yeah,
right. Like you said, like Pablo was at least you could tell he thought he was doing it for the right reasons. In a lot of cases, you could say, yeah, he kind of was doing it for the right reason. But it's like Felix, it's like no, you literally like told your wife, I don't need you anymore. Like go away, and then like no one in your party likes you anymore. You're just a greedy asshole, and like everyone thought you were arrested. And then wait, what happened with that? With like the guy who was like gonna he had Felix at gunpoint, and then Felix said he had like some tapes or something.
he had some sort of blackmail and a shit ton of money. I haven't watched it in a while, but I think what it boils down to is he's like an opportunist. So it's like he generally does not want, like, he has shitty beliefs, but those don't come out until like you challenge him. So it's like if you never have a reason to have a problem with him, he won't cross you. Like he'll, because his strength was his organizational skills and his ability to solve problems. Like that's how he became so successful, and that became his downfall because he lost that side of himself when he started getting angry and more emotional, and he started going out of his way to fuck people over. That's what cost him basically his freedom. So it's like
He
he's an
just
opportunist. So it's like he had those same beliefs to begin with, but they didn't start coming out because they didn't have a reason to. He would never just innately do those things.
yeah, everyone he like just brutally murdered Nava.
Yeah, and that was, I think that was the start of how he kind of lost a lot of credibility, and a lot of more mistakes kept happening after that.
Definitely.
If I'm
But
not, if
also
I
like
remember correctly.
a lot of people probably like hate Nava, but I actually kind of liked him. I know a lot of people was just like, hey, he's just some like greedy, like annoying douchebag. Or like no, sorry, he's like just some pretentious, annoying douchebag. But like I don't know, like I liked how he put Felix in his place. You know?
Yeah, that was great. I've said it before, but again, Rafa is the most annoying. I hate this fucking character.
No, when they caught him, that was satisfying as
Yeah, I
hell.
was like, kill that motherfucker, so we don't have to see him anymore.
Right. But also like
Which
when
is
they
pretty
caught
incredible if you think about like a fictional character can strike that much emotion in you, which is really cool.
yeah, I know it's cool. Well, he's based on a real character. Well, sorry, a real person, not character.
He's based on a real character.
Yeah, as if we're
Um,
all like it's a life we're just like RPG. You know, we can just select like our traits and our hair and which I mean that kind of is true to an extent, but
yeah,
but
fucking.
like no, when they caught Neto, I was like no, because like, I remember you told me he got not as likable. Liked him the whole way through.
I, I
Neto
don't
was
know, man.
awesome.
Fucking Neto. But yeah, but
Like you, I could not look at him without just like just like smiling.
he would be a really fun person to talk to in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Like just the way a character looks, like you just and like the feelings it gives you. You know, like how you look at Neto and you're like, I definitely want to sit down and have a beer with that guy. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah, like you said, like he just looks like a guy you want to see in real life, and he's just like he just looks so like lovable and like just chill and I don't know, like just funny too.
You know what's really depressing to me, and like it's sometimes like I have this really I swear my brain just goes through just very fucking just, it just misfires, and I think about really insane shit on like a emotional level that affects me. So it's like I'll watch movies and I'll really like relate to characters. I'll really enjoy a specific character or story, whatever. Then like it makes me super depressed. So like I'm never gonna like have a conversation with anybody that's remotely like that in real life. Because like I've met some
Oh,
cool people and talked to some really like interesting, like truly captivating people very briefly, but like not on the level like it is in a movie, and it makes me sad.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's why you always just gotta strive to be the truest version of yourself, you know? Because like the more you I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but you know, like the more you just like live a lie, it's never satisfying. Like the more you actually like just stick to like what you know deep down is true and just live your life how you're supposed to, you become a lot more interesting. You know, like it's typically people think of it the other way around. They think like, you know, being religious and sticking to discipline and all these things make you boring. It's like no, it's quite the opposite. Like sinning makes you more boring. and like it dulls your senses, it dulls your imagination, it dulls everything. It dulls you as a person.
How did you rope that into it? All I said was it makes me sad that I don't get to talk to interesting people. I'm not living a.
Yeah, but I mean, I was explaining how some people are interesting and how some
Oh,
people
I
are not
see.
interesting.
I thought you meant I
Yeah,
was like
no.
projecting my like unoriginality into other people. I was like, no, I just generally like talking to interesting people, but just not on the level like they're portrayed in movies. But I mean, ultimately, yes, I do agree with you. I think like if that's the only way to not be miserable is to just do it yourself or like be that version that you wish that you could have with other people, I guess.
Right, like you must be the man you dream to be. There's no
Yeah.
way around it. Like you must set the example. You must if you have like this vision of yourself which you know is attainable, like you got to do it.
My only
Cuz you can
counter
be
is
the
that like it gets exhausting to be that guy every time to everybody because then they just take advantage. So like it gets like strenuous to be that altruistic for people's benefit all of the time.
right, but I think like the best version of yourself doesn't need to be like that CEO like jacked dude, like that is not necessarily what I mean by the best version of yourself.
I mean
Like the
more
best ver-
emotionally, like being like the emotionally like putting all that emotional labor and all that sort of like
Right, like you're at
charisma.
equilibrium. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're at equilibrium and you're able to, like you can handle lots of different complex topics and like you can participate in multiple different activities. You're more useful, you're more, like I said, interesting. Like you can like you're more of a help to people, like you're more contributing. It's a bunch of things like that feed into the equilibrium like I was talking about.
Yeah, for me that's the one thing and it it's funny like in my daily life it's what makes me feel the best like the helping people and the contributing aspect but like in my relationships it feels like it's very unbalanced and it's just so much fucking work and it's just advantage taking so I think the dynamic is interesting between those two because obviously you're closer to random people that you just help for no reason but I mean yeah it's all beneficial to you as a
Yeah.
person even if you're not doing it for other people.
Oh yeah. I mean, we see that in Babel how like this actions affect like everyone,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, or however much we know. Like that's why like I mean I don't live my life like in fear. I mean that is kind of part of it because like you have to fear God to an extent, but it's like I live my life in the sense that the actions you make have consequences throughout the world.
Yeah.
And obviously some actions you make are have bigger or smaller implications, right? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like it affects the world around you to some extent.
I always think about, especially like with the job that I do, is like selling really expensive equipment. I always think of down the line how many arguments that started because we've had people crying, begging for a refund because their fucking wife found out and it got pissed. So I just visualize in my head like me like I'll be in this like I'll be convinced them like hey this thing is really good and not because I'm trying to sell them something expensive just because I from what they're telling me it seems like they'd enjoy it so it's like, hey, I like this thing. So like I talk them into buying something and then they feel good and then they go home and then it's like a end of the relationship problem. Like they got divorced because of it. I always think about if that's ever happened. Like what,
Yeah.
what cause and effect happens from, trying to be like, hey, I'm helpful to like, hey, I just ended a marriage.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, we can be
um,
down $1,000 or, you know.
yeah. So I think about that sometimes like how much harm do I just net objectively cause
Yeah.
when I'm not trying to be.
Yeah, like I try doesn't I always said, I mean I'm guilty of this. Like I try the best I can to like if I'm in a debate to not get like so heated and everything because obviously like if you're confident in what you believe and what you're arguing for, there's no reason to get all heated, right? Because like you have that confidence knowing that you're in knowledge of the truth, right?
Yeah.
So
It's,
like and obviously like I haven't necessarily been the best doer of that, especially like on certain topics we've talked about here on the podcast.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
but I mean, I'm trying to get better at it.
the way I look at it is like I'll debate anybody on anything. And like, I'm obviously we've had disagreements, but like even if they do get like heated, like I don't, there's no reason for me to like be like bashing or just be like disrespectful, because obviously like at the end of the day, like we're friends, right? Like I have like respect for you. I don't see it as like a fight. But like if
All
so,
right,
like
and like
if you
you
went out of your way to
typically Oh yeah, I was just like you typically just like attack the argument. You don't like attack like because you
yeah
don't go ad hominem, which means like you just instead of arguing the argument like you're arguing against the man making the
yeah
argument,
like
which is an extremely big fallacy.
the only way I would play that card is like if like, and this is something I would not tolerate at all. Like if you like went out of your like if let's say we're not arguing about like a specific topic, like we're arguing about something that like personally happened. So like if you were like to make up something or like lie about something, then I would fucking get heated. Like about me you know what I mean? Like that's really the only scenario where you have to like defend yourself, especially if it's like a reputation thing. But if it's just like
Yeah,
discussing a topic, I don't give a shit how passionate somebody is. It's not gonna hurt my feelings if they're passionate about a topic. But what will and make me angry is if they're going like like attacking me is fine, but like like making up allegations or making up shit like that is where I draw the line.
yeah, yeah, definitely,
But But yeah, I
definitely,
don't think we have to be a true represent. Like it's a fucking. We're not professional. It's a goddamn conversation. Like we're gonna say shit
absolutely,
that's
yeah,
wrong all the time. Who cares? And it's like people listen like,
yeah.
oh, it's impressionable, and you have to have accountability for what you say. It's just like people have to be accountable for what they believe and what they do with those beliefs. Like if I have a shitty belief, I'm not gonna act on it. Like I'm not gonna like, especially anything political. Like I'm not gonna take a political belief I have and impose that on anyone else or guide a decision that I make, except for the vaccine one because that crosses into the medical territory and that shit just freaks me out regardless. No matter what it is, surgery,
Yeah.
medicine, vaccines, whatever the fuck. I don't even trust the food that or the pesticides that they nothing. Like everything is just designed to kill us. So that's different.
Yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, like I remember we were talking about like I brought up earlier about how a lot of people just like they cannot argue in the abstract, right? Like they need a study to back them up. They need
Right.
like some YouTube video to back them up or something. Like I had a an argument with my friend. I'm not gonna mention his name. Not too long ago, and like I mean, he sent some videos, and like I responded to the videos, and then like I responded to the videos by just texting him back and not sending another video. But then eventually, the video I sent to him was not necessarily about the things I was arguing, but I just sent him a video, and instead of actually responding to the videos, he just said, "I listened, like I watched your video. Here's my response," and it was just more videos. And I should have just told him like, you can just argue with me on your own accord. Like you don't need to have a study or a video or someone else to explain it for you. I mean, I can because that's part of my religion, and my religion permits that. But like, if you're being so individualistic, like, and you're claiming to be so like unique and everything, it's like, and like how you can think for yourself, then like, why do you need to have a video to explain it to me? Like, why can't you yourself do it?
I think it's because it's very draining. Like you can get super worn out trying to have these like yeah, it's like playing chess. Like you're burning calories trying to think of whatever your next thing you're gonna say is. And the thing that's irritating to me is like, so like obviously like a lot of like there are specialties and studies that are real, and there are people that just negate them having no like concept. But my problem is like since like I don't have an understanding of that, I'm at the mercy of the people that are experts or claim to be experts. So it's like even if it's common sense and it goes against whatever that narrative is, you're just gonna have to accept it until it's like objectively in the mainstream proven wrong. So it's like if I look like especially with the vaccine thing, like I have no medical knowledge, so it's like everything I believe could be truly false and it is 100% safe and effective and nothing will ever happen from it. I'm just paranoid. My only thing I just have to do is put blind faith in that system over what I innately feel are common sense, and then people, and that translates to everything. So like if you're not an expert in whatever, people are just gonna cite a study without having any understanding of it themselves, and just say
Well,
you
right,
have
and
to
like,
blindly trust it. And which is fine. Like that doesn't have to be a problem all the time, but it's frustrating to have these conversations because at the end of the day, like you really don't have the best insight, regardless of what it is.
Right, and also it's like you're probably not even reading the full study. Like you just see it, just the
I
study
think your mic cut
supports
out
what
though.
you believe, and like I'm just gonna use that as like
Can no longer
the
hear you.
argument, you know. And also like I don't understand. Oh shit,
You cut
sorry.
out. I couldn't hear what. Start over.
Well, sorry. As I was saying, like I don't understand why like people need to like the validity of like what you have to say is dependent on like your position or like your level of education or whatever, or like how it's like I mean obviously I'm not saying that like that doesn't play a factor in it. Like obviously if someone has a PhD in something, that is something to take note of, right? Or if someone is a medical professional, that is something to take note of. But like at the end of the day, I think like the biggest like determining factor of like whether or not something is like quote unquote healthy or not, it's like it's just personal experience, right? Like this is like I have a big problem with people that say that like well I mean I think nofap as like the actual movement itself is kind of cringe,
No
but
fap.
like
I love how
no I mean
we're going into this territory now.
no I mean I think the actual movement itself is like is
Oh.
cringe, and it's like you should just not even really think about it anyways. But like I have a problem with someone that like says, "Oh no, that's like bad for you," when they haven't even tried it. And it's like, well, maybe they have tried it. It's like, well, how long did you try it? Exactly.
But
So,
that see
so
that's actually a great example because like there's a lot of experts that disagree about like it's like obviously the one benefit to ejaculating all the time is like it's reduced risk of prostate cancer. Like I think that's unanimously what is accepted as an actual benefit. And then there's also people saying that you're more of a benefit if you do semen retention. So it's like if you don't jack off as quickly, if it's losing nutrients. So it's like there's so much murky water and there's like sound evidence on both sides to support it. And I think for that it's more mental because I feel like you could come every day for the rest of your life and it wouldn't like deplete your body of nutrients. But if you were doing it like several times a day, all day, I don't know.
yeah.
Be dehydrated. I don't know. But
I I listened to this doctor who actually, I mean, he he explained it actually pretty well. How like a lot of the benefits are actually like overstated. Like you don't get superpowers, and like I mean I know that personally, but it's like a lot of it is because like if someone's like addicted to alcohol, and then like he was saying how like the benefits only really come to someone who is like addicted to it, you know
right. Yeah, my
uh,
surmise of that was that it was more helpful mentally, but a lot of people were saying it had a biological difference. And I have to say, I've done the No Nut November thing. It, it's more of the discipline of it, but like, actually, it's a little bit of a TMI, but the only thing that really changed was that because I was so used to just doing it, the fact that I didn't do it for like a month straight, like anytime like I would like when I went back into it, like my nuts fucking hurt because like it was just abstained for so long. And that was the only like change that I felt. I didn't feel because like I don't know. I don't know how much a change biologically it has, but yeah, if you have an addiction, it's obviously great to have self discipline and use instead of jerking off. If you focus on more positive things to build your character and your spirit and your body, then yeah, it's gonna have a positive effect. It's like the drinking water. Like you don't drink water, here's all the health benefits of drinking water. So
yeah, right. Like the doctor was like, obviously like it's like an alcoholic who gets off of alcohol he's gonna go crazy about like the benefits of like drinking absolutely no alcohol. And I understand that argument, but I just think those aren't really like, I mean obviously they're comparable, but like they're not equivalent, you
yeah,
know.
I think the most sound evidence for nofap, and this is just general practitioner knowledge, I would say, is the if you do it all the time for the wrong reasons or overstimulated by porn or whatever, it's leads to erectile dysfunction. That's why there's ads for fucking Blue Chew or fucking Viagra for like 30-year-olds or late 20-year-olds because everybody has erectile dysfunction from obviously this lifestyle is not sustainable where porn is instantly accessible everywhere you go as opposed to you getting lucky with a chick and then you fuck every day. Like I feel like that's healthier than you jacking off every day for your brain.
Yeah. Oh, is that what Viagra does?
Well, it gets you hard, yeah. It's a
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
but at the end, they're finding that Viagra is actually a really good deterrent preventative against dementia or Alzheimer's or something with your brain.
Mm,
So maybe
nice.
if you fuck all the time, it will reduce your risk of dementia and prostate cancer. So that might over trump any no fap thing that benefit that could have. But obviously, if you're in great shape and you're not addicted to porn, I don't think it matters how much you jack off or not.
Just for argument, I mean, I still don't think it's good, but well, also like I remember in the other episode we talked about it. I didn't when I said that there's nothing good that comes out of it, which obviously no, I don't still don't think there's anything that good that comes out of it. I forgot to distinguish between like porn as opposed to like actually just doing it. You know,
Right.
I forgot to make that distinction. Which I mean, in either both of them, I think there's nothing good that comes out. I don't think there's anything that comes out good that comes out of either one. But
Well, in
I
the
think
context of marriage, I think lack of sex is worse than having, not even regular, but just intermittent sex.
oh, yeah, there's no lack of sex in marriage.
But that's what I'm saying. So it's like the actual act in itself is beneficial if done correctly under the right mindset.
Oh yeah, right.
That's
I
what
was
my point
referring.
is. If for your context, if it's in the confines of marriage, then it doesn't change the actual act. It just changes the psychology behind that act.
I was referring more to like just wanking.
Well, I mean, even if you're married.
Not. No, no, no. No, I mean, I wasn't talking about the act. I was talking about just wanking.
Oh, I thought you were talking about premarital sex too.
No, 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 no. I
I
was.
can't. It's been a while. I can't remember.
I don't think that either. But that's a completely different topic.
That should be an article that we should have people research, like jacking off, married or single, which is worse.
Yeah.
Can get some
I mean,
really good little debates going there.
there's multiple reasons why I would argue against all the things we mentioned, but
Yeah, but I mean, the point being is, these self help gurus preaching that shit. Like a lot of it is conjecture, and that's what I hate because
about wait, preaching what?
like like something like NoFap, like saying it has more benefits than it probably has, or with
No,
anything,
but
or with any
the
product or
problem
any.
the problem I have with these people is that it's all these videos of like how to get laid. Like all those people are disgusting. I'm like, why does that need to be like the focus of life? Like, can we just like get married? I know that sounds cliche and like I'm a boomer, but like seriously.
Because that's their target audience. They're targeting like insecure incels. That's their only like that's the only fucking life's
No, but
mission
like
is to do
that,
that.
but like it just keeps these people incels. Like I don't
Yeah, no
understand
shit.
why. Like, right? So I'm like literally, it just creates more incels. It does nothing good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not designed to be helpful. It's designed to sell you whatever fucking service or product. And that's what I'm saying is like the mainstream way of life is so shitty that it causes all these con artists to come out of the woodwork and preach a better alternative. And oh, you're being lied to, so here I'm gonna lie to you, but my lies sound better. Like it's a fucked up dichotomy that we live in. So it's like it's stupid to say that I don't trust anybody. It's true. It's like I don't trust the government and I don't trust the guy on YouTube telling you the government sucks. Like it's a dumb fucking existence we live in, having no reference to anything except our own personal experiences, and we're arguing about shit that we have no control over. Like it's just such a stupid way of life we live, and it's not even helpful to your personal growth. It just distracts you and makes you more miserable. So I choose to
Yeah.
not fucking. I choose to be. You have to be more apathetic. You just have to.
Control your illusions.
Seriously, yeah, exactly.
Quote Maynard.
Control the fucking illusions that you wish to believe, and if it's beneficial to you and you don't impose it onto other people, then fucking stick to your guns. Because I feel like the way
Right.
I know the mistakes that I've made, and like the way that I think has also garnered me a little bit of success. So it's like I can successfully navigate myself into situations and not be passionate about bullshit that doesn't even apply to me.
Right. Like my concept of illusions is probably different than a lot of other people's concepts, but um
What do you mean?
like what I would regard as illusions are probably not what most people would.
Well, I mean, they're all personal. That's what I'm saying. Like, who knows what the illusion is? Everybody believes their own version of it, and they preach it. So it's like, it's just a dumb argument to have with people.
Well, what do you think illusions are to people?
I think that
Like
no
in
one.
reality, what do you in society? What do you think illusions are?
Well, they can be many things. They could be deception of economics. They could be deception of
Well,
personality, deception of medicine.
what
Like it could be
I'm
anything.
what I'm referring to is like, what do you see in reality or society that you just think like just is either not hyped up to what like it's not hyped up to be. Wait, how do you say? Like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not hyped up to what it is.
Okay, I believe I
Or
get what
wait,
you're
no, I
saying now.
still, yeah, I still didn't know. I don't understand why I
I
can't speak English right now.
I understand what you're saying. In
Or like,
so
yes, something that's just like not worth it, or it's not like just you shouldn't believe the hype.
in my
That's
opinion,
that's
that
what I'm referring to when it's illusion.
yeah. So to me, the grand illusion and what doesn't live up to the hype is basically everything that we've been taught to believe is beneficial to us every time, like especially whether it's from our education system, from the government, from boomers giving you, fucking jaded advice. Like I don't think human beings are supposed to live the way that we are living right now. And I think we're being fed false realities from both angles. So it's hard to know what truly is your right path. And it takes a lot of hard work and self discipline to figure that out. And most of the time, it's usually the exact opposite of what people want you to do. Like people, like we're such a consumption company. Like any piece of advice people give you is to give you more material success. That's it.
Right.
Any sort of
Right.
mental or spiritual help is under the guise of selling you something, so it's not supposed to be actually beneficial to you. So I don't believe that we actually are living to our full potential as human beings, and I don't know what the right answer is, but that's the grand illusion to me, is that we're being led down the wrong path by false idols everywhere we look.
All right.
And
I mean, that's that.
and hopefully the greater grand illusion to me is death. I hope this is not the end, because if it is, we are such a miserable lost experience of fucking beings on this planet. I hope death is the grand illusion, in my opinion.
What do you think happens when you die?
I don't know, but I hope it's better than this. Whether it is a higher power or another, vibrational existence, I don't care what it is, but I hope it's out there.
Nice.
So I think our grand illusion is the way we're living life in general on this planet.
Oh, what it's not hyped up to be. There we go. Now I know how to speak English.
Yeah. And I think our
Yeah.
ancestors had some sort of sliver of how to be higher beings and consciousness, and I feel like they had more of a ticket because they had more of that to focus on top of all the greed and genocide and death and disease and all that shit. There are very few people that could see beyond all of that, and I feel like that's more of a lost art because everybody thinks that they're enlightened, even having no exposure to anything but their own experience. So, and we have
Yeah,
to fucking listen to it.
that's something that Jordan Peterson talks about a lot is how a lot of people like view history and like with like a very arrogant lens of
Yeah.
like, oh, like we don't do that anymore, or like, oh, I
I
would
don't
have like believed differently at this time. It's like, no, you wouldn't. You would have been a fucking Nazi in World War II. I probably would have been. Like,
I don't get, like, he confuses me. Like he doesn't have like super
mm.
extreme ideas, and people think he's just like the most like fucking like far right fascist. And
Yeah,
I've listened to some
I
of his
don't know.
stuff,
Like
and
most of his stuff, like he's just trying to get men to be better men. Like,
yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I've listened to some of it. Some of it's not great advice, but like I don't think it's insidious or like people think he's such a political like opposition. And he's like he
yeah,
just
man,
sounds
like
more like
he's
a self help guy. Like I don't understand why
yeah, like
people are.
he's spoken out against like a lot of like he doesn't like Donald Trump and like he's very. I mean, obviously, like he debates with a bunch of liberals and like he's he's like right wing in the sense that he's just like anti leftist and like progressive and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But
Granted, I haven't heard a lot of his shit, so it's like if he said something that people have I don't know. Like I've only like the little that I've listened to is just like he doesn't really interest me as a speaker. Like he kind of says shit that a lot of other people already regurgitate. So it's like, but it's tame. Like I don't see why he gets so much shit. And I think now they're talking about revoking
it,
his doctorate. for I
No, that's
and people are always
bullshit.
protesting when he tries to do speeches at colleges. Like, I don't get why he's the fall guy. Like, Alex
Well,
Jones
okay,
and Andrew Tate, I
he
can understand because those guys are controversial. But I don't get why Jordan Peterson gets all that shit. Because even if
he
he's
pop
dead wrong in
he
everything he believes, he's not like aggressive about it. I don't know.
well he a lot of people like just can't stand him because he like popularized the well I hate to say popular like he kind of like brought into the mainstream like the opposition to like trans ideology and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And like he's like I mean he had a point and like he predicted all of this stuff like back in 2016 how like this is literally like comparable to like fascism,
Okay, I
you know,
see. So everything's
where it's
overshadowed because of that one point. I am up to
it,
speed
it's
now.
it's like people give him shit for that. People also give him
Okay.
shit because they just think he's like a loser, and I'm like, by your own standards, like a lot of these people that say that like men need to be more feminine and
Yeah.
they need to be more sensitive. I'm like, this is literally a man who's doing that. Okay, I'm not saying he's like a feminine man, but like he's sensitive. Like he's cried in interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
and
why are you guys not applauding that? Like what? I'm
yeah,
like,
and
what do
that's
you
the one
want?
thing.
What do you want from men? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so the trans thing is not even a winning thing. Like, it's not even that's not even worth touching with a fucking poll. So it's like, if it doesn't matter what you say after that, like there's no winning. People are just gonna be pissed off infinitely at you. But that's the biggest hypocritical thing, is everybody touts this. Oh, silent suicide. Men's fucking social awareness. Fucking they've been raised to not show any emotion, and we're trying to smash that patriarchy. But then like they'll make fun of Jordan Peterson when he's crying about something he's passionate about on interviews. It's like, you're the fucking reason, bro.
Yeah, right.
Like,
So I'm
I don't
like,
get why they
yeah,
don't get that. Like, even if you hate the fucking dude, the message that it sends is that you have no place to be emotional in men as a society, because only in the guise of if you agree, or I'm sorry, if masses agree with what you're saying. So like, if any sort of individual, and obviously I don't know what he said, so I'm not defending him personally, but that just sends the wrong message, and obviously it's very hypocritical. So it's like, you can criticize what you need to criticize, but if you truly believe that and you go against it just because you hate the dude, it just throws any sort of credibility out the window.
yeah, like it's like this. If I am, let's say, like if I'm an emasculated man who's Christian, then it's like, oh, you're just fulfilling the stereotype of Christians are just a bunch of these weak losers who need this religion of being nice to cover up for the fact that you're just a creepy weirdo. But it's like at the other hand, if I'm like this super like uber masculine man who's Christian, it's just gonna be like, oh, you're just like just being a like you're just being like a big brute meanie, and like you're everything wrong, and like you're just it's toxic masculinity. I'm like, what do you want? you know,
Yeah,
like
I think it's just dianetically opposed. I don't even know if that's the right word. They're just opposed to what they actually believe, and like they prove that with their emotional reactions and outbursts to things. So it's like, they're all about body positivity until you say something they don't agree with. Like, everything they preach to be helpful with is out the window when they can't
yeah, like
stand
he
something.
Jordan Peterson talks about that a lot. Like he had that interview, and like a bunch of people memed it because like it was like he just wrecked this woman, how she was just so mad at him, and she was like, how can you say that like trans people aren't real? And he's like, well, look at this conversation we're having right now, like you're willing to offend me to know what the truth is, so like why should it make any difference if I'm doing the same to you? Like the truth is offensive, get over it.
Yeah. So
I'm
I
like,
guess,
that's
yeah.
he's very good in that regard, and I think in a lot of most places he is very good. The only
I,
gripes I have with him are just his certain like religious viewpoints, which I'm sure you would probably actually agree with him on this.
I like I said, I don't. That's why I don't like listening to people like this, because like, they may have good points, they may have shitty points, but the problem is, like, if they say something that's controversial, even if they're good at it, like, it's just not helpful, because like, you're gonna take a complex topic like that, one guy's gonna believe something, and then a lot of people believe a separate thing, and then it's just like attack and vitriol, and it's not benefit. Like, people always like do owned compilations. It's just like, it's so cringy to me now. Like, that's why I don't partake in like liking people like this, because like, I don't know, you just take what the actual idea is and then you throw away the ones that aren't good. And that's just that simple. So like I'll be like, yeah, he
Yeah.
made a good point, or no, I don't agree with this, and then fucking move on with my day. And the trans thing is difficult because that's a fucking massive issue that's not going to be boiled down to two people having an argument. Like it's just more complex than that, unfortunately. So I don't know. It's just all fucking dumb to me to see two people screaming at each other. It's just like there's no point.
I mean, Jordan Peterson's not doing the screaming.
Right. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. He's like, oh, look at this. You know, he's poised for not like stooping to this low hanging fruit with colored hair that's screaming at him. It's like, yeah, you kind of have to not do that because then you'll look as bad as them. So
Even
it's just
even
dumb.
so, like he's had interviews with people that aren't really that don't look like that. And like it's very telling that like if you're just like I was saying, like if you're very confident in like just speaking the truth and like what you know deep down inside your heart what is right, then like you're not scared, you know? Like what's stopping you? You know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would just not want to be in his position. Like I wouldn't be so passionate to help people if this is the reaction I was going to get. I would just be like, fine, you don't agree,
Yeah.
then there's no more for me to say. I'm not going to try to convince the world for what reason.
I also like a lot of people invite him on to shows.
Yeah, obviously, like you have to look out like how many percentage of people are getting tired of this, left versus right narrative. So it's like there's always a power balance. So it's like people that are sick of one side are going to go to the other,
Yeah,
and it
but
just
like
tips every fucking couple of years.
that's why like I hate to just like label him as like a right wing guy. You know, like we talked about this like I said, like he's voiced his disapproval of Trump and like other Republicans and stuff like that. It's like he doesn't he has the same view about like religion because everyone's like, "Hey, why don't you just convert to Christianity?" And he's like, "No, because I don't want to just be part of some sect and stuff like that." Which I mean, I don't particularly agree with him in that, but like he's just like, "I don't want to like join a club," you know?
Yeah, I don't think he's a right wing. I mean, I don't really know if he doesn't
No, I
sound like
mean,
a right wing guy. He's just the trans thing. That's just not a winning battle. Like he has to
yeah,
give
but
that one
also
up.
like what?
Do you cut out again?
Wait, you mean like like the he can't win the trans battle?
No, there's no way because it's such a polarizing thing in our country right now. It's like it's not even a winnable argument because
Well, I
like
mean,
for I don't see any beneficial to arguing about it because like for me like I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit about women's sports. I don't care about bathrooms. Like I don't I could give a fuck less if so like let's say psychologically or biologically it's false, right? I could care. But the fact is like it's been such a politicized thing. Like you say anything against it or any like even like if you're not against trans people, if you have any sort of criticism, it's automatically transphobe this, transphobe that. So it's like it's not even a doable argument. Like you
that's
can't.
that's what Jordan Peterson talked about. How it's like it's literally comparable to fascism, and everyone was like, nah. But then now like they're just like pulling this like you have to comply with this and that, or else like it's like well, what do you mean or else? Like you literally are doing everything that you say you condemn.
Yeah,
Because like I said, everyone's religious. Everyone has this set of like everyone has this like moral code that they follow or they try to follow or they think they don't follow. Like everyone has these things in their head and this sense of right and wrong, right? Like anyone who says there isn't religious, like they're not they're lying. Everyone's religious. Everyone worships things,
yeah, I
right?
agree.
And it's like I don't understand why people have a problem with me believing that my religion is the correct religion. Like, why would I follow the religion I follow if I didn't believe it was the correct religion?
I'm not
I
saying
don't
in your
understand.
case personally, but I think it's just the arrogance of it, like, and just in the statement alone, I think is what people, it's what kind of turns them off, or the
But you,
ethnocentrism
but
with it.
but you see what I'm saying, though? It's like, why do they have a problem with that? Why are they offended by that?
Like I said, it's just like the same reason why are you mad at, or I don't know if you get mad, but like, I mean, arrogant people irritate me regardless of whatever it is. So it's like, if all your conversations with me were like that in general, like it would just eventually be like, I don't want to do this anymore because it's like, it's not even a point that I'm trying to make. But then if you're constantly trying to prove that to me, it's just like, it's not interesting for me to just even partake in. So that's kind of the
Hmm.
difference.
But you do see the point I'm making, though, right?
Yeah, no, I
Because
mean,
it's like
it
there's
makes
a
sense why you
reason.
would do it that way, but like the people that don't see it that way, you're not going to convince them.
No, but what I can do is like because if I tell them that and they get offended, it's like Well, what are you getting offended by? You know, is it because deep down you know I'm right and you're wrong? Because like people that are wrong, they're never gonna admit that they're wrong. They're just gonna keep thinking they're right, and they're keep gonna try to just use like straw man arguments and all the like I said like virtue signaling to try to prove that you're wrong. But if you're right and you know you're right, like nothing's stopping you. You know.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, like if you were to ask me like back in the day, like I would not know how to answer because like the agnosticism scared me of like choosing the wrong one. But these days, it's just like it doesn't offend me because I don't know for sure. So like it might be, but I don't know. It's there's no point in me arguing something I don't definitively know, and I don't feel it in my heart. So it's it's. I mean, every now and again, it kind of scares. It's like, dude, what if I'm fucking wrong here? You know what I mean? Like there is that looming in the back of my head, but less and less these days. I choose to believe that things just work themselves out, and like I don't think I'll be cast into the lake of fire because I'm not Catholic. If there is a Christian God, so I don't know.
It's
Like
not. Well, I mean, I've talked about that. That's not the view of heaven, but
or whatever like having to be Catholic to do whatever. Like
it's not.
I don't
Well,
know.
okay. So the view of heaven in Catholicism is a lot more nuanced than people think it is.
My
Um,
point is to reach it. That's what I'm saying, or to be eternally punished, or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But my point is like I don't know. So like I'm not. It's not going to offend me if people tell me that because I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not going to say it's not true. I'm not going to say that it is true. So that it just doesn't have an effect on my life.
yeah. Well, it does.
It might, but I'm saying I don't feel it. I'm not
Right.
saying
Well, I
I'm saying
do
I
respect
like I'm not
how.
like justifying an argument. Like I'm saying like if I'm telling you how I feel personally, it's not a feeling that comes to me.
I did appreciate how you said that like you're willing to admit that you're wrong, and like that
I
was
might
me
be.
too, and that's what led me to Catholicism. Because a lot of Catholicism, I think, is just admitting that you were wrong, and just you know, and it just accepting the traditions and the teachings and the faith and everything.
And I think it's good to humble yourself, but to me that just doesn't automatically prove that's the right one because you admit that you're. I don't know. It's just I again like it's not a hill that I die on. That's why it's weird to argue. It's at the end of the day, it's like maybe.
Is a it's a hill I'd die on. It's the only hill I'd die on. It's the only hill that is worth everyone dying on. I think.
Yeah,
Like I
I'm
said,
saying that.
like obviously, like there is a certain um degree of difference in taste of like, oh, like I prefer this kind of music, right? Like I like rock, or I like jazz, something like that, as opposed to like there's no universal music that everyone that I think works for everyone. Whereas like I think like the only universal thing that works for everyone is Jesus, right? So that's why like he is the only thing that is worth dying for.
Yeah, and like I said, if you believe that and tell people that, that's why I'm saying like why they might have that reaction. But for me, because I don't, or because like I don't know, it doesn't affect me to like I'm saying like when I don't get offended when people say that stuff to me because like a million people could say that to me in various different ways and I'd just be like, all right, like I
Um,
don't, it just doesn't do anything for me.
sure, but I
But
mean
people, I
like
guess I guess it's just the arrogance. I think is why some people get turned off to it.
I know I get that, but like me, I'm just coming from like a I just like legitimately believe that this is true. Like it's just you get to the point in your life where like you're either in or you're out. There's like you have to ask yourself like, did Jesus Christ die on the cross? Is Jesus Christ the Son of God? Does Jesus Christ ask us to eat his flesh and drink his blood? If all of those things are true, which they are, then you have to go in 100%. There's no like, kind of, I don't know, maybe. Like, no, it's like you're either in or you're out. That's just what like life. That's how life is. Like you're in or you're out. You win or you fail. There's no like, I kind of did it. Like, no, if you kind of did it, then you failed. Like, I know that sounds very, very rough, but I mean, that's just kind of how it is.
I think. I mean, at the end of the day, like it is your own truth. So it's like if it's beneficial to your life and it's something that you strongly believe in to be true, then you are living your truth because you're not pretending or you're not doing it for the wrong reasons. You're not doing it because you're scared of what might happen if you are wrong. So in that
But
regard, then yeah. But
but it's not my truth though, because like this is, I mean, this isn't necessarily something that you would take with credibility, but I mean, like it is proven that like people that follow these kind, and obviously like, I know it's not all the same religion, but people who do follow all these things like are proven to like, you know, have better, like they're proven to have more ability in work, or like they're gonna have better community structure, they're gonna have this and that. And also like, I mean, it's not like this is just something like I didn't just smoke up a bunch of crack and then think about this, last night. Like, I
no,
mean,
no,
it's like, sorry.
my point was it wasn't your truth versus objective truth. Like let's pretend that like you're right,
Oh
like
yeah,
that
okay.
Catholicism is the true religion. So like, but what I'm saying is like you believe it for that reason. Like you're not believing it because of some other reason that you're making up or that you're hiding behind. Like you
Oh yeah,
believe it. That's what
okay.
I'm saying.
I'm
Like that's your truth.
okay. I misunderstood then.
Yeah.
I sorry. Yeah.
So that's what my point is. I agree. Like with anything in life, if you do something that you don't truly believe in, I think that's a great metaphor because like you will fail if you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out for
Yeah,
most
right.
things.
Because like, I mean, it's there's something that this book about like being a Catholic man talked about, how it was like as men, like we just have this innate desire for real things, you know?
Yeah.
Like we want the real thing. Like we don't want the alternative. We don't want to be sold on something that isn't what it represented. You know, like we don't want to buy like the 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 sugar-free dessert, or like we don't want to buy the, like you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like we like real things, and we like doing things 100%, you know.
Yeah, we preach authenticity, but how
No,
achievable
but
is that really?
sure, that's a fair argument, but real in the sense that like you could tell what it is.
I don't know.
You know,
Like,
like if
yeah.
like if I see someone like, I don't know, like is that like because like a lot of like metal music, or it's some kind of like Hispanic or Brazilian music, or something like that. Like I can feel like it's real, like it comes from like a good place, and not so much metal, but like a lot of the Hispanic and Brazilian music, it's very like family oriented. There's a lot of men singing together, which are things that like just we don't really have in our popular music anymore. Where like whereas like genres like pop or rap, like it's just they just feel fake to me because like they're trying to sell me on something. Whereas like these other genres, I just feel like they're just it's just there, and it's just this mystery you get to figure out on your own.
I
And
think it
so
just
that's
depends on the artist that's doing it. I don't think it's genre specific, but obviously more pop and rap are going to be more manufactured and less authentic than underground music because, there's no I mean, not to say there's no financial gain, but the bands that feel most authentic are the ones that don't have a financial reason to continue. It's like they do it as their hobby or their side job. So I think that's why people get so mad when they consider a band selling out because it affects the music or the authenticity of it. But I think if you just connect with a sound that you like, you'll just perceive it to be that way. Because like there's metal bands where I feel like come from that place, and there's other metal bands where it's like I can just tell this is completely fake and manufactured emotions. So I think it just depends on who's doing it.
yeah, it's just another thing. Kind of what I was saying is just like when I listened to a lot of these like Spanish language or Portuguese language songs, like a lot of these songs, like people like this, they dance together and like they sing together and stuff like that, which is just something we've lost in here, and like in I mean, I don't know how rest the West is, but as far as America goes, like we've lost that. We don't do that anymore, and that's a big part of community. It's a big part of you know recreation. That it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not that I don't know. I do know. It's just I don't know how to
Yeah,
put it else into words.
yeah, the fact that music is so commercial, that's not the underlying value is coming together communally to express yourselves and have a good release for whatever emotion that you're feeling. I remember Maynard had
Right.
a
And
pretty
it
interesting interview where he
so
was like the majority of musicians are broken, and that's why a lot of them are drug addicts or have alcohol problems or they have some sort of addiction or they're just troubled in general because there's that piece of them inside that's broken and like they need music to express it. But at the same time, it also is like the money, the attention, and the fame. Like it feeds the ego too. So it's like at some point there's a threshold where making music to make music becomes making music because people like it, and you have to commit it to a service, or you like the actual lifestyle that it's giving you, or it's making you worse as a person. So for
yeah,
me, like I don't think I'm ever gonna have a career in music. I purely do it as a hobby. So I feel like
same.
everything that I
Yeah.
make, even if it doesn't sound good, it's like a true expression because I don't even make full songs. Like I'll just have something in my head that's catchy and I would like to share it, a couple seconds or whatever. So I don't think I'll ever be successful in that way. But again, it's just who depends on what your goal is and what your outlook is. Like I've never, maybe when I was younger, I've I always imagined like I hope I get famous or I hope people know me for that kind of expression. But these days, I just do it for fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
And sometimes you get more authentic takes when you do it when there's no other reason to make music but other than you enjoy making music.
Yeah, I
I'm not
mean, I
gonna go
know
and
it's
bitch you like, oh, support local artists or fucking you can't make money. Like, no shit. You're doing it for the wrong reason. Just fucking do it because you enjoy doing it. And if you're lucky enough to be one of the few people that can actually live off of music, then you're fortunate. This is not should be the standard.
right. Yeah, exactly.
And I know
I
that's
agree
really
100%.
strange coming from someone who likes music, but it's just true. Like you've lost your sight if you like you think that you deserve success or people deserve to spend money on your bullshit. Especially if it sucks. Then fuck you double.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, like
Practice
this is.
motherfucker before you can get famous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like this is what I. Hey, this is what I explain. This is what I explain to my socialist friends. This is what something that Thomas Sowell refutes time and time again is that like people have this idea that wealth is just something that's just distributed out into society, whereas opposed like it's like no, people get paid based on the service they provide and how much what value is attached to that, right? So like obviously the service of brain surgery is going to be a lot more costly and important than the service of like, you know, fixing a paint spray machine, you know,
Yeah.
right? So it's like I don't see what the problem is of like a surgeon getting paid more or like, or like a football coach. That's just because a lot of money comes in through the revenue because that's what people spend their money on, you
Yeah.
know? That's what people spend their money on. Like I don't have any problem with people in the entertainment industry or the sports industry making all this money. I mean, because that's what people are willing to pay them. Like with Ronaldo making like what like $200 million or something for that team in I don't know where it is, like in Dubai or something. But it's like that's what people are willing to pay him because they know that if he plays for them, there's going to be so much more revenue because of just like if Messi played for some team in like the is it the MLS? Yeah, like so many more like tickets would go up, like merchandise sales would go up just because Messi's there. Like people want to see Messi. Like people want to see Messi play soccer. They don't want to watch me play soccer. Or
Yeah.
like they want to hear Maynard play guitar. They don't want to hear me. you know,
I think
I
it
don't
wouldn't even
understand.
be an argument if it was like to me. I think there needs to be a balance of like a functional economy where people are useful and contribute to it, and also like empathy. So it's like if people are in a hard spot and they can't seem to function, like trying to get them help and trying to get them like when I say contribute, like people always assume like oh you're just a slave, like all you do is like your fucking numbers on a machine and you have to just serve these corporations or these other people to make them more money while you're never going to advance. And the people that are smart enough to break that cycle, that's celebrated. So it's like fair enough. But when I'm saying contribute, I'm just saying like for your own self, because like no matter how poor or rich you are, if you don't contribute anything, like you'll feel worse as a person just psychologically. So it's like if we had our basic meds net with Jesus, if we had our basic needs met with empathy, then we could just participate in the economy hammer way we could. And the one thing that was interesting to me was in the show The Orville that was saying with Seth MacFarlane, they don't
Oh
use
yeah.
currency. They said the need for monetary gain was vanished when they found a way to synthesize food. So their currency and value was reputation. So it's like it was what you were able to achieve was what gave you more success. But then you can generate whatever food and needs you wanted. So it's like is how far you went in life was up to you solely because you had your basic needs taken care of. So that's kind of where I draw that line of being useful and participating in the economy versus being celebrated for being lazy, but again being just totally unempathetic to people's problems.
Well, I'm still of the opinion that, especially in this country, like if you can't get your basic needs, that's your fault, right? Like you can you can make the choice and you can be a law-abiding, hardworking citizen. And if that happens, you're gonna get your basic needs.
Yeah,
You
it may
know,
be their fault, but that doesn't mean they should be beyond rehabilitation to get them back on the right track. Like most of the
oh,
time,
I'm not against rehabilitation, and also like yeah, I do acknowledge that there's certain things that happen in people's lives that legitimately are out of their control. Like like a car ran into me, or like my mom died or something. Like I know, but yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, I just think that's the biggest thing is like people always like it sounds harsh because like you're blaming somebody like this thing for someone that's poor and mad about rich people and all that shit. Most of the time, it's going to be what you just said. So it's like, oh, it's your own fault that you are the way you are, and objectively, it's true. But that shouldn't be the end of the conversation. The end of the conversation, like, yes, this is your fault for these reasons. Now, like, this is how we can help you change your life around. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's where we should go as opposed to just innately throwing blame, but then not offering any help. I think that's kind of defeats the purpose because like
Right, and
people are just not
also
going to get it. They're not going to get it. And they're not. There some people just beyond rehabilitation, but that's a very fewer minority than the people are that do have the capability to be rehabilitated. So I don't know.
yeah, and
I feel like it's just not useful to be hard on them or to help them because sometimes it just doesn't work.
no, and also like there's actually another thing Jordan Peterson's talked about how it's like you shouldn't be mad at the people who are like addicted to smoking. Like you should be mad at the tobacco companies that like force them to buy all this stuff
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it
Yeah,
right yeah like that's yeah exactly and I think you and I are also the same opinion that like you can obviously get help and there's ways to like get better. It's just the ways that people offer are just like just it's so
yeah,
wrong. Like the people just get it so wrong, and a lot of people just think that like if I vote for this person, the government will come and save me. I'm like, the only person who's coming to save you is you. Your parents are going to be there for a long time. Maybe not. I mean, I know everyone's lucky, but at some point, whether you like it or not, they're not going to be there. And it's like the only person who's going to save you is you.
yeah. And I mean, it is a harsh reality. Like you can have so many cards stacked against you, all the more reason for you to get out of it on your own because there's like the world's cruel. Like you have to figure out how to beat the system. And unfortunately, most people that claim to help you are not of having the best intentions. So, and
Right.
the other thing that's like when you brought up the example of like, like with any addiction, alcohol, gambling, smoking, so it's like that level of personal responsibility versus exploitation, it gets blurry, right? So it's like, I'll admit, like it disgusts me sometimes, like when I see people that are easily addicted to things. But on the same token, I get very mad at companies and corporations pushing an unhealthy thing that they know is addictive and they know is going to make them more money. They know it's going to destroy lives, but then they have the fucking audacity to put a little goddamn warning like, careful about gambling. Don't drink and drive. Like, if you have a problem, call this hotline. It's just like, goddamn well, like your fucking people are, you pay people six figures to make this shit more addicting and to reach as many people as possible. But so I have to navigate that in my head, right? So it's like I'm mad at the people that get sucked into these things. I'm also mad at the people that present these scams. So it's like somewhere is a disconnect in my head where it's like one of these is the right way and one of these is the wrong way. I think what it comes down to is people defending it. So it's like the people that are so defensive of their vices and they take it out on me, like mental illness, like without getting too personal, like I've dated a lot of people with mental illnesses, and personal responsibility was always a thing that was a difficult topic because how far, do you have to take responsibility versus you getting help, and how far and how much shit are you willing to take and
Yeah,
how much work are
but
you willing to put in?
you'd probably agree with me that like a lot of people in our generation that like say they have a mental ill like it's you don't have a mental illness. Also,
But
like a
again,
lot
they're
of
being exploited by psychiatrists and all this medicine they put them on. So it's like it might be helpful
right.
to some
Well,
people, but also addicts a lot
yeah,
more people. So it's like I'm mad at both sides. It's like I'm mad at the people that get sucked into it, and I'm mad at the people that are pushing it. It's a
right,
hard.
and
It jumbles my brain because it's like the behavior innately disgusts me. Like I can rationalize like, hey, I should not be as hard as I am on this person, but like it's a feeling that is just it's a gut reaction. Like I'd be lying if I said it doesn't disgust me, but I rationalize it by like this is a very exploitative nature, and especially the way we are as a society now, it's everything's working
right,
against us. So it's like it makes
and
me
like
mad that I feel that way.
right, and like I mean, like I keep bringing him up, but that's another thing Jordan Peterson talked about is
Just
like how
fucking kiss him
he
already, Jesus Christ.
I mean, he has a lot of great things to say. Because he was talking about he used the same argument with like the cigarettes that he used with like trans people. He's like, you shouldn't hate trans people. You should hate the doctors and everything pushing all this stuff, and all the like the politicians pushing this ideology and everything.
I will say like I said, I don't even want to get into it because I don't know
But
like
yeah, we can save that for another episode.
well,
Um,
the one thing I will say, and the one thing that I think is very exploitative, is this really blatant push to just gender reassign kids, and get mad at that because they're like, well, it saves more lives because those kids would end up killing themselves, and so it's like, sure, if you want to pull a
no, that
statistical, well,
no, but
hold on a
that's
second,
no,
hold
no.
on.
Okay, well, okay, no, I didn't, I didn't phrase the beginning of my argument correctly, but yeah,
What
what were
I'm
you gonna
saying
say?
is like I don't know if it's true or not. Like you can pull up different numbers. What I'm saying is like it's a very important medical decision. It's not even arguing whether trans people are valid or not. Like it's a very big decision that I don't think a kid is mature enough to handle. And if it comes to a
Sure.
point where like if they're so emotionally unstable where like if they don't get their assignment surgery then they end up committing suicide, then it's a much bigger problem than them changing their gender. Like that's what I'm saying. There's a big disconnect, and I hate, like I said, because I don't know anything really about biology. I don't know the psychology about how trans things work. So I don't real everything I'd say is just I don't know. It's just from the outside looking in. But my point is just like you can't even criticize any, like it's such a new, well, it's not a new thing, but like it's a very new polarizing thing in our society, and I feel like we're jumping the gun and saying this is what helps trans people, and I don't know if that's the case or not. Because at the
All
end of the day,
right,
like who
because
gives a
that's
shit?
the well, I do, but so I mean, it's it like you were saying, is this the way to do it? You know, it's like because the way that like trans activists always do, we were talking about with the virtue signaling, they always do the whole oh but so like you don't care about kids killing themselves, and it's like I absolutely care about people killing themselves. Don't you dare go to that territory with me. What I'm arguing is for these people to be given a different solution and how you can find so much more like resonance and peace of mind by not choosing to mutilate your body. Like I don't like they just they're like, "Oh, ha, I got you," and it's like, "No, you didn't."
Yeah,
Oh my!
it's a very complex topic that's boiled down to a binary decision, and I think that's never a good answer, regardless of if like I don't know, I don't even want to touch the fucking subject with a 10-foot pole because like obviously like people aren't making it up. Like it's like throughout history it's been like proven like this is an actual thing, and you can go back and forth debating whether or not it's a mental illness or if it's whatever the fucking word is. I don't know. Like, and the same thing with bio. I think when people argue biology, like they always bring up intersex, but it's like
It's like
they're
one in like I don't
that's what
even
I
know how many. Like,
that's why I get confused here. But people like, oh, pick up a biology book. It's like, no, this happens in nature. Like, yeah, but that's not what we're not arguing about people that have the same or intersex people. You're arguing like trans. It's a psychological thing. It's not a biological thing.
yeah, right, but also like intersex is it's not it doesn't disprove that there's two genders. It's not a third gender. It's just a distorted mix of both male and female.
Yeah. And
It
the other
it's
thing I'm
not it's not a
confused
third. Yeah, exactly. It's not a third gender.
the other thing I'm confused about is like the concept of like people always like I don't know if they always like they do the difference of like gender and sex is like sure biologically there could
What
be
is like the difference between gender and sex? I've
well
never
gender is
really
the
understood
social
that.
construct so like sex like I said it's like people it's like oh there's no more than two genders because there's only a biological male and female. So it's like well if there is intersex people it's just a very small population. So it's like but I don't know why they're arguing biologically because with trans it's not a biological thing, it's a mental thing, right? Like there's no biological
Yeah,
like that's
yeah.
why I don't get why people like argue those points. Like they always like try to like use biology to disprove it, but I don't because it's not the same thing. But gender being a social construct makes more sense like between what is a man and a woman, and I guess that line is being blurred. So it's like you can your gender. It doesn't matter what your biological sex is. Your gender can be more fluid, and you can choose it. So, like again, it proves to me more that it's just a psychological thing. It has nothing to do with biology. Because if it doesn't matter your sex, your gender can slide around, then fine. I don't, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't bother me. And but I think
Whether
what does bother me is like the rash decision to like change your body when you're not even 18. Like I don't know.
um yeah, like the problem with like the whole oh, gender is just a social construct argument is like well, whether or not it's a social construct or not, just because something's a social construct doesn't mean that it's like not true. You know, like there's tons of social constructs that like we would consider like if you didn't think that that was right, then like you'd be looked at as like a crazy person, like rape. You know that
I think the point
rape
of
no, but rape as seen as a bad thing is a social construct because like for most of history, like in the Roman Empire, if you were just some like high ranking dude, you could just like rape your slaves. No one cared until Christianity came and was like, nah, this is actually kind of bad. You know, like just because something's labeled as a social construct doesn't mean that it doesn't have some basis in our moral assessment as human beings.
I agree. I just think it's the like you're using the social construct of gender to prove that you're a biological male, prove that you're a biological female, or if you're intersex, if you're that part of the population. So I think it's like two different things that you're trying to prove at the same time. That's why I get
Yeah,
confused what
but
people are even
well,
arguing.
so I see what you're saying, but like, so I'm not arguing because like I gender is not like I don't think gender is a social construct. I mean, like it is biology, just like it is with sex. I think it's more like obviously, yeah, like you can be like your masculinity and your femininity. Yeah, that's obviously a well, I mean, even so, like it's not even really a construct because there's just certain traits that are just masculine and there's certain traits that are feminine. You know, like
Well,
and
what I'm
you can be a masculine woman and or a feminine man, but that doesn't change the fact that like you are a man or a woman. I guess.
I guess my point is why I'm confused is like people are arguing identity versus genitals. So it's like
Oh yeah, yeah.
if you're a woman, like let's say if you're a female, so like you have female biological parts, like but you like are trans man. So it's like you are trying to prove to everybody that you are a man, but you biologically don't have those parts. But like if you like believe that you're born in the wrong body, like it's like it's they're not proving their gender, they're proving their identity. Like they're not trying to prove that they're a
Oh yeah.
biological man, but we know that they're a biological woman. They're just trying to prove that their identity is a man. That's what my point is. Like I get confused what people
Oh
are
yeah.
arguing.
Oh yeah. That's actually that's kind of the point that Matt Walsh brought up in like his documentary. I haven't seen the whole thing, but like it's like the what is a woman thing.
Yeah, I get
Good.
I get the premise of gender being fluid, and you can identify with whatever you feel your masculine and feminine energy is, and you're a slave to whatever biological parts that you have, unless now or you can get it reassigned. You know, at the end, like, what if the technology gets so good to the point where it's like you can totally like get all female biological parts for to the fact where you can get pregnant and shit. So it's like, what then? You know,
No. Well, so
you
we
ever
don't
think
get to
about
that
that?
point.
Technology gets so great, then it won't even matter what you fucking are. Because
Yep.
biology is technology, if you think about it.
Yep. Let's spend money on that as opposed to things that actually matter. You know.
I don't know. We already waste our money on dumb shit anyway. Fuck it. And
True.
we might learn how to
But
cure cancer. I don't know. But my point is
but
just like I don't get what people are arguing. Like if they're arguing their biological like I don't know.
well,
It's not
no,
as I don't know.
that's what Matt Walsh is very much pointing out in his documentary is that like the consistency of this, like it isn't there. It makes no sense because he's like, what are you arguing? Because like when he was on the interview with Dr. Phil, when the I don't know if it was like a man or a woman, I don't know, but like I'll just say she was like, trans women are women too, and Matt Walsh is like, well, what is a woman? Like, how can you say that something is something when you can't even define what that something is? You know?
Yeah, especially because it contradicts. Like, if gender really is that fluid, and it doesn't matter what biological body you're born into, you can't define it. Like, it's just whatever you personally agree as a woman. I guess I don't know.
Right, and also that brings me back to the social construct thing. It's like, well, why it's like if gender's all a social construct, then like why does being a woman have to be so much a part of like all of these feminist like identities? You know, it's like, well, if that's just a construct, then like it means nothing. Well, going by the logic you're going off of, or like being black, like why does that need to be so much like a part of your identity? You know,
I mean, this is who we
because
are
like
as
a
human beings. We have to have some sort of identity or some sort of false identity or something to satisfy our ego. Like we can't just walk around being empty shells of people. Like we there have to
no, I
attribute to something.
no, I know, but it's just like I'm just pointing out like the logical fallacies in these people's arguments.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. It's interesting is like I don't know. I don't even know where I stand on the topic. It's just like it's like I know people that are trans, they're fine. I mean I know people that are highly against trans people, they're fine. Like I don't
Eh.
know. I like in my head, like I don't know what the fix is because I feel like it's just been so polarized that like there's never going to be any sort of dialogue. It's like you're either going to be against it or for it at this point. There's no room for gray area because the people that don't believe in trans shit are going to like think that you're going to fall into it, and the people that are trans, like, because you're supposed to just blindly agree with everything they say, the fact that you're on the fence is a problem. So it's like it's just not even a subject I want to go into. So I'm like I'm nervous talking about it. It's just like I don't fucking
My
so
thing,
dumb.
well, I'm not nervous about talking about a lot of these things anymore. Like I said, just because like I think I'm very better at arguing for them, and also like I'm very adamant in my beliefs, and I'm very confident in what I believe in. Right? Like
It
I
doesn't
was
matter
talking
though.
about.
That doesn't matter
No, but well, why does it not matter? I mean, it doesn't
because it
matter
doesn't
for
matter what you
you,
believe.
but
It
what do you mean? I can
objectively,
engage in this conversation. I'm still in this conversation.
I'm into outside people. It doesn't matter. So it's like
Well, right, like
you
I said, if someone's wrong, they're never going to admit they're wrong. You can point out all of the logical fallacies in their argument. You can point out how they're being an arrogant, little, ungrateful, self righteous prick. They're never going to admit it. You know?
yeah, but it's not like you don't even have to be that way. It's just like it's so polarized. It's like it's companies that don't even give a fuck. That was just like, oh,
Yeah, sure, that's a
fired.
good point.
Like it's not even arrogance. It's just like it's you can't even touch the subject without blindly agreeing with everything that's the new current trend of whatever.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't care because I feel like I mean obviously like any number of things that we've talked about, I can count like 10 in my head just from the last months of doing this podcast that I could get in trouble for saying. Right, I
Right.
pick and choose my
Definitely.
battles, but like knowing full well that like this could have a consequence, which is stupid because I don't feel like I'm controversial as a person. It doesn't matter because if you say something that's
I
political,
think I,
it's
I
you're
think I,
done.
I am, I'm definitely more controversial as a person than you are.
I have more fucked up thoughts in my head that don't represent my character. I just know what's not a thing that I can get away with saying. Like I can't say the F word or the N word on here in any context. You know what I mean? Like they're just shit I know I can't say, even though it has nothing to do with me as a person. But it doesn't
Can't
matter.
say you can't say the F word.
No, it's
Oh,
a
that F word. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
not
Sorry.
fuck.
Yeah, I was like, fuck. You can't say fuck.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
mean,
what?
obviously,
You've said that like in this episode now.
which is
Yeah.
stupid because like there's like I pick and choose what I don't care about. So it's like more people would be offended. Like I feel like more people like
Yeah,
if
you're
this
worried
was to
about your
be
career, Jason.
shit, you never
No,
know, man. Well,
I
it's funny.
know.
I say retard all the time, and retard's an offensive thing to say now. But I feel like more people like it's more detrimental to say the F word or the N word than to say retard, and that's why I don't say the R word because I feel like not enough people give a shit. Because obviously, I don't hold sentiment against people that are mentally handicapped, and like I would never call somebody that's mentally handicapped a retard.
No, yeah, definitely. And
Like
it's like,
it's obvious. Like
no,
it's
what I don't like is that people that just like that do like activism on that stuff, because like all it is just it's just useless people that need some sense of like use, so that they just need, it's just,
well, my thing
I
is
don't
just
know.
the word. So it's like it's the intention. So it's like retard was the medical acceptable term until everybody used it as a fucking insult. So now what's handy capable, specially able, whatever the newest word is, people are just gonna keep using it as insults. So like they're gonna keep changing the word. It's stupid.
Or also I'm like, or people that have like a problem with me saying that someone has a disability, I'm like, that's just like what they have. I'm not saying it's like a ooh, I got you. It's just, no, like you have something, you have like a defect in the way your body, your brain functions. I don't know, like,
It just I hate how we can have no nuance. So it's like I can't like
right,
if
yeah,
I make a joke about
exactly.
saying oh this is an autistic thing that I did, so it's like oh my god you're contributing a negative thing to autism. Autism isn't negative. It's just like no bitch. I can make fun of myself for being white all goddamn day, but I can't make fun of myself for being autistic. Like it's just dumb what hills we choose to fucking offend. Like if I'm trying to be offensive and like trying to like be like nasty, like that should trump any fucking offensive joke that you know what I mean? Like it's all about intention. And again,
Yeah.
I hate saying this because it sounds cringy, but it is true. Like offense is fucking taken, not given. Like especially if I'm not trying to be that way, because it's like I have the fucking brain capacity to understand. Like I've known autistic people. I have autistic cousins. Like and also like it's just the fact of like we need to make fun of each other, so it's like I want the autistic person to make fun of the shit that I do too. Like it's not one-sided. That's the whole point. Like we're treating them like they're a special protected class, like they can't do anything for themselves. So it's like make fun of how I look, make fun of the shit I like I it makes it less awkward. Like don't be victimized by that shit. Like join in.
Yeah, on the Urban Dictionary for victim mentality, it said the eighth deadly sin.
God.
That's kind of
It
true though. Um,
it is insidious because like it's not even protecting the people. Like it's there's a difference between being disrespectful, being offensive in a comedic way, and trying to give people a false sense of security. Like
yeah.
I don't know, it's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like those things can coexist. Like it's not all fucking it's not all down to the fucking words you say all the time.
I
It
hate
just
that
isn't.
word so much.
What?
I know it doesn't have like a bad meaning on its own. It's just the whole like political campaign like that coexist. You see all those signs. I'm like,
Oh.
go
Yeah,
away.
not the coexist bumper sticker. I mean like mutually sharing a space and it not being a fucking problem.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no,
Like,
I get
because
it. Yeah.
by coexist, most of those people mean, we accept Eastern religions, but not Judeo Christianity. So,
I literally just mean its literal definition.
right,
Coexisting.
exactly. Like you're not using the word as like a punchline.
Yeah, and it's just like
Like
I
in
yeah,
in
and
like
the
a
other
few
thing
good
too, like
men.
it's arrogant. So it's like some like I hate it. Like it gives people no right to defend themselves if you really think about it. So it's like if somebody makes fun of me, nobody's gonna come to my defense. But if I make some fun of somebody that's autistic, everybody's gonna come to their defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you're already treating them at a lower standard because you're trying to tell everybody that it's normal and that they're just like everybody else, but yet you treat them like they don't have the concept of humor and humiliation and the
Right, or
differences
it's like,
between that. So it's just like who like do you actually believe that autism is normal or do you believe that it's different from you and they need to be protected? So it's like what is your argument?
right, or it's like people that, it's like when something happens to like like if a black person gets shot or something happens to a black person, it's like, wait, then like why do you need to treat these people like they're like less than if like a white person got shot? It's like it's the same thing applies here. Like it's completely one sided, and if you ask me, it's kind of just as racist as it was back in the day.
Well, I think it's different because like people lose their lives. So it's like I don't even want to get into that fucking shit because like I said I don't think
Oh,
our justice
okay, no.
system is very efficient.
Let
So like
me.
people are gonna die regardless. But like people like they get offended by like let's like strictly sticking to humor. So it's like racial humor. Like I mean it's cringy to say this, but there's obviously a bias. Like you can be racist towards a lot of like I'd say Asians and white people are probably the most people you can make fun of. Like, but I think like Hispanic and black people are the ones that's like very iffy. So it's like it has to be
You can
self-deprecating or
you can still make fun of Hispanic people. Though.
not publicly though. Like, well, I see any racial thing publicly will get you
No,
in trouble.
yeah,
I
no.
never mind.
Unless you're the race that it pertains to.
Exactly. Like unless if it's
Yeah,
not self-deprecating or like it's you know what I mean. So like you can't do racial humor if you're not the same race. But it I'm sorry, like it's and I don't necessarily have a problem because I like racial humor. So it's like you know if I see people bashing on white people, I don't care. I think it's funny, but it is hypocritical because it's a cop out. Like you're simultaneously like you can't be offended, but yet you can offend. Like it's just
right.
such a
Yeah.
stupid system. And most of it's social
Yeah.
commentary, so it's like. But again, I think it's all fucking funny. Like I don't think anybody should not be made fun of.
Yeah. Right. Um.
Yeah, I don't get offended by white people jokes or calling it like I just don't care. But I do see the hypocrisy where
Um.
it's like you can it's not even a comparison of being untouched as other racial humor. It's just not in the same
Right.
vein, which is
Yeah.
fine.
I've talked like you brought up like the white people joke. It's like I've talked about that a lot. I don't even know about necessarily out here, but just in life, this is something I talk about a lot. Is like I cannot stand for the life of me like the lack of nuance that people have when it comes to like ethnicity, peoples, and cultures and stuff like that. It's like
Yeah,
the concept of being white is something that like really only exists in America, Canada, and like maybe South Africa.
yeah, but
And
we
if
do
you're
live in this country and we interact. Like that's they're not talking about
no,
like
no, no. I don't have a problem with you applying it in America, but what I have a problem is like people that apply it outside of America.
oh,
When people say like, like should Greek people be considered white or something like that, or like
that's just so dumb. It's
no, or like should Italians or Spanish be considered? I'm like, I guess maybe kind of like not real. I don't know. I mean, like I don't think of Greek people as white people. Like I just think of Greek people as Greek people. Like I don't think of Greek people as black. I don't think of them as brown. Like I mean, like, they're just Greek. Or like Italians or Italians and Spanish or so. I'm like, can that not be a thing? Like, why do we have to be like it's just you're just white? I mean, I know in reality there are only three races, but it's like, why do we have to just lump them all into like these blobs? It's like an Igbo person of Nigeria. Like you would definitely distinguish them from like a Haitian from like from the Caribbean or like someone who's Afro-Cuban. Like they're the same race, but it's like they're different ethnicities and they have very like they speak different languages. They have very different cultural practices. Like or it's like when people say like oh like Mexico was colonized by white people. It's like Mexico last time I checked was just colonized by Spanish people. Like I don't why do you have to think of it as like white people? I don't get that because then also like it brings so many negative connotations. Like when people are like, oh Spain is just just a bunch of white people. It's like well first of all, not really based on your standards of what
a lot of
white people
Muslims in
are.
Spain, a lot of mixed people.
Well, yeah, even if they're not even Muslim, like they're mixed with like Arab and stuff, but ancestry. But
Yeah,
yeah, but well, that's what I'm saying. Like, not number one, not even number two. Like, what does that even mean? Like, you're clearly implying that like Spain is less cool than like another country that speaks Spanish, like Mexico, that has a bunch of people that aren't like ancestrally European. So it's like you're just being a hypocrite.
I think
Or
it's just
people
like
like
they just associated with like the colonizer thing. So it's like every atrocity, like it doesn't matter what country they're from, it's just inherently whiteness, I guess.
yeah, but also like I like what about like all the African like like people that colonized each other? Like, are they
Yeah.
white? No. Or what about
Well,
like
I mean,
the
if you ask those kind of
Japanese when
people,
they
they'll probably say that they have some like internal racism or like
and
colonizer
they
mentality or like
they
misogyny,
have
whiteness, transness, whatever the fuck, right?
no.
um,
I've had these arguments with people, or it's like if the Japanese conquer the Chinese, like are they white? No, or it's like if
in
someone
spirit.
right, or it's like when people say like oh like these people have lighter skin than other people. It's like race and like ethnicity isn't just about the actual skin color you have. Like a lot of it has to do with just phenotypical features and like things you see in someone's face. Which like I mean, I know a lot of people can find that kind of uncomfortable, but it's like there's just certain like being ethno linguistically Germanic, for example, like that's a thing. Like Germanic people have certain facial features that make them distinct from Slavic people or, you know, the like, Celtic people and stuff like that. I
I
mean,
think
it's like
statistically nobody did it on the scale that Europeans did it, so it's like it's easy just to lump them all as the similar. I mean, minus the Arab influence and like parts of the Mediterranean and Africa, and also like the indigenous people of Africa. Like most people of European descent, especially in the northern, were like came from the Germanic tribes. Not that much race mixing came, so
well,
um,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like when I think of like what most by most people's standards of like what white people quote unquote is, like I think like Northwest European. You're just kind of Celto-Germanic, like right, like the least influence from the Mediterranean or the Maghreb and stuff like that.
I don't know. To me, it's more of what you look like, and I think that validates itself because
Definitely, yeah.
it doesn't matter where. Like people don't people most people are ignorant. Most people don't know where you're from like until you tell them. So it's like most people, especially the Spanish people that look white or they could be European or but they're from fucking Argentina or whatever. Like you not know until like they spoke or until they told you, right? It's like you just make an assumption because they're white looking. But then again,
But
like the people that are
sorry.
biracial, like the people that are black and white but look black, or the people that are like white and Hispanic but they look white, those people struggle with their other identity because it's not what they look like. Like it's nothing to do with culture and how you're raised or what country you're from. It's legitimately what you look like, and that's how we're
But
prejudiced. So it doesn't matter.
no, but also a lot of people, like I was saying, they have just like this complete like black and white view of race, where it's like if like people that look like you and me spoke Spanish, like that's normal. It's like you could look any way and you speak Spanish, that's normal. Or like if you speak English, that's normal. You speak French, Portuguese, that's normal. But it's like if people like you and I spoke Chinese, that would be kind of weird, you know?
Exactly because of how we look. That's my point. Like
Right,
that's
but
why.
I'm saying like Spanish is one of those languages where like you don't necessarily have to look a certain way. I mean, it kind of matters, but
What I'm saying is like the people that go on about like inherent whiteness or like white supremacy, but then like if they're biracial and like they struggle with being identified with their other race that they don't look like, it's like you're kind of killing your own rhetoric.
no, right. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how Jewish do I look?
100.
Really?
Yeah.
It's that bad?
Well, not when you had your hair grown out, it was more. But then when you come into my fucking store in your goddamn Israel jihadist robe.
That was awesome, dude. And I went to the China Poblana, and they were like, "Hey, what's going on?"
You know what's really funny is like it's nothing to do with anything, but every time you walk in there, I inherently assume it's offensive. Like I it's not, but like I feel like I was like, dude, don't. There's customers
you
in here. What are you doing?
you mean like to other people?
Yeah, I don't know why. It
Why?
seems like something that's I don't know. It seems like something that's offensive. So like every time you come in there, I just look around like are there people in here?
um,
I
I
don't
mean
know why.
the only person who like I guess it would be offensive is like someone who actually is like from Yemen or something like that, who is Jewish, because like my sutra has like the Star of David all over it,
Yeah.
which is like you can clearly like I mean obviously people like you and I can see that and be like, oh yeah, that's clearly not like Muslim, but like people that like I said have no nuance in any of these things, will just see that and go like, oh, Muslim.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there are like it's all like social conditioning, so it's like how many hundreds of years is it going to take for everybody to be equal? And so it's like when everybody mixes with each other and becomes a similar skin tone and with like the similar types of features, like our problems are not going to go away. So that's why I hate this ideology that like this one thing is the cure to the cancer on this planet. It's like nope, human fucking greed and human goddamn free will is going to get in the way of everything. So like eventually hundreds of years, if we make it that long, when we're all the same color, we'll still kill each other. and we'll still hate each other, and we'll make up reasons to do it. So
And with the
I
new
don't believe.
with yeah, like with the new technology, we'll just do it faster, you know?
Exactly. Find more efficient ways to hate and kill, because that's what we're born to do. Europeans are just good at it, and I guess that has a generational fucking effect, especially like, growing up, as if you're black in America and having that generational, you know, psychological, because like we evolved to our environment. Obviously it takes longer, but how plausible is it that hundreds of years you have that same sort of generational divide, or not divide, that generational trauma. So it's
I
hard to
would
say
still kind
how
of
we're conditioned.
I know it's controversial, but like I would kind of disagree with you there. Cuz it's like when you look at like the problems in a lot of like black communities and like the problems are never like people never look at like why they're there, like and like people never want to actually talk about why they're there, and like most of it is just because like these people don't have like families, they don't have communities, they don't go to church, they don't, like they're not taught like common decency and stuff like that. Which like if you look at like black communities before 1960, like that wasn't the case. Like when like I bring up the argument, like black people not growing up with a dad is like a huge problem. And people are like, oh well, that's like they were slaves and stuff like that. They didn't know it. And it's like, well, if you look at black Americans before 1960, you'd see that most of them had dads. Like literally, black girls would get married earlier than white girls.
No, I mean, to me that's more the government's fault, especially now, like with years
Well,
of like
definitely,
how.
yeah, it is. Like all these, like a lot of these problems are just the government
But what I'm
getting
saying is like
rich
that's
off
hard to fix.
making
Like that's not a problem that's going to be fixed anytime soon. Like once you like, it's
right.
hard
But
to
I
get out of
don't.
that system.
Yeah, but I think the generational trauma comes more from the government doing this as opposed to the actual people like
No, the
that are in
government,
these
yeah.
poor communities, right? Because like the government just they just get rich off of keeping these people poor so that they can create the welfare state, and keep these people poor. Like they don't want to actually get these people out of it because then they wouldn't get anything out of that.
Yeah, and again, and that's why it always makes me feel just icky about the whole thing, because like it's not even you're not even arguing like are white people inherently evil. Like you're arguing if any other race of people does something that's remotely fucked up, like you have inherent whiteness in you. Like I think to me that's a very dangerous ideology.
So definitely, right? Because like I mean,
Because like
obviously,
obviously white people do fucked up shit, and there's a lot of white people that are in charge, but like if you say that's inherent, that's like that's literally like going to be a cause of a genocide.
that's literally like the definition of racism,
Yeah, and if
right? Because like
the definition has been changed to institutional racism, so at the very least, it's highly prejudiced and very 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 unhelpful. And
right, and
again,
also like
I don't think our problems are going to go
um
away. Like I said, when there's no more white people left, it's they're going to kill each other, and then they're going to say it's because of our generational whiteness. It's just it doesn't solve our problem.
well, right, like I mean, like the slaves they had the uprising in Haiti and they killed all the white people, but it's like that didn't really seem to solve any of their problems. Like Haiti's awful, you know. I think
That's
that's
more
like a
environmental too. Like they would get hit a fucking earthquake every goddamn year.
even so though. Like you just look at like the like the streets of Haiti and like the community structures. Like it's not a pleasant place, and like I do recognize the geographical part, but also like I mean just like culturally and stuff like that, and societally, like it's not a very functioning place.
What's interesting to me, and this is something I'm just purely just throwing out there, just for to have be an interesting conversation. So it's like the richest guy in the world was Mansa Musa at one time, and the Ghana Empire was massive. Like there's been countless civilizations of massive African, and Egypt is one of them. Like people don't understand, like Egyptians are Africans. They weren't Muslim, and they weren't white.
They're Afro-Asiatic, which is they're not like I mean a lot of I mean I
You
don't know.
go
It's
back as
just,
far as the
no, I mean
Egyptian Empire,
I
like
was
they're
gonna no there was one empire within the region known as Egypt that were sub-Saharan Africans, which is the thing that like if I say it I'm gonna get canceled, but the name of the race, which you know what I'm talking about.
hold on.
They're
What do you mean, like?
you know it sounds like the thing that'll sound like I'm being racist. And I'm not.
No,
I'm
no, I
just
get like being
no,
like
no. There
full
was
African versus like Afro, like Asian, like mixture of that.
no,
What
but
I'm saying is like,
the
what are you talking about
actual
with Egypt?
no, yes, like there was one empire within the modern borders of the country of Egypt that were like sub-Saharan Africans, like they were black, but it's like the actual Egyptians are Afro-Asiatic, which is very close to Semitic,
How long ago
right?
are you talking? Because the Egyptian Empire is fucking thousands and thousands of years. Like it's even like theorized that they're way older. So it's like very like there's the Egyptian Empire has reigned before they were even considered to be Semitic. That's what I'm saying. What time frame are you talking about?
I don't really know necessarily what time frame, but what I'm referring to is like what most people think of when they think of Egyptians. Not like you said like modern Arabic speaking Egyptians, but like the
I'm talking like
Egyptians with like
old kingdom, like not
yeah, like
like
Pharaoh and all that stuff. Like they weren't black.
the original kingdom of Egypt was, yeah. Not they weren't Afro Asiatic.
I mean, even so, like it doesn't matter. Like the people that were there and the people that we know is like the famous Egyptians were Afro-Asiatic.
But that's what I'm saying. You're saying famous Egyptians. They've literally reigned from dynasty to dynasty for thousands and thousands. There's not like one popular fucking like that's what I'm saying. Like
There
they've
is though.
reigned
Like
for
if you take no, but if you take a DNA sample from an Egyptian, like they're not Arab. Like they're essentially like, they have the same DNA as like the pharaoh. It's
modern
really
context is murky because like that land has been it's just people mixing for
no,
thousands of years. It's
it's
almost
not
impossible.
no because like when Islam and like the Arab Empire like conquered Egypt, they just kind of moved on to the next place. They didn't really stay there. So like most Egyptians, like the Moroccans are more Arab than the Egyptians are like they're just Coptic, like which is just another word for the Egyptian ethnicity. And like their DNA is like it's remained relatively the same. Obviously, like, there's some mixing here and there, but like the average Egyptian is going to have more in common with the pharaoh than he does with the caliphate.
I don't know. I mean, it's so fucking far back. It's hard to say, but like the fact that like Africans were like pretty much the origin of people that were on this planet before all this
That
shit
is,
happened.
yeah, because like by yeah, all
What I'm
humans do
saying is
come from
like the
Africa. Yeah,
Egyptians are rated to be a lot older than we like perceive them to be. So it's like the original Egyptians that like like built this met like thousands of years before all that shit happened with all that
well,
stuff. That's what I'm saying. So
maybe,
before this got
but
derailed, my whole point is like there's been like millions of empires in Africa that have been pretty hard, but it's like the domination of the Muslims coming down, and then eventually the fucking scrambling of the Europeans to fucking rape it the fastest. So it's like there's never been like a really tried and true in the past couple hundred years for any African nation or empire to flourish, unlike Muslim, Asian, or European. So it's it's almost like the Jewish thing in a way. So it's like, but the thing is, like, we gave the Jews a state, and they've found a way through their bribes of merchantism and affluentism to make it into institutions. But I think that I don't know, there were prominent African societies of their own right, long time ago, and I can't think of like one that hasn't been just subjected to just war or disease or just eradication because in terms of technology it just wasn't there.
also like just Africa's geography is just like it's so like it sucks, you
Well,
know.
I mean, it's a big continent. I assume there's some good strategical geographical places in Africa. I don't know,
Not
but it's
really. Like
larger than
it's so prone to like invasion and stuff like that.
I guess. I'm not a strategist. I don't know, but
But
I mean,
yeah.
geography does play a big role, so that might be.
Oh yeah, because like that's why land is fought over. Because like certain countries want like coastal parts, or like certain countries want all this stuff. It's not just like flat land, you know.
I will say that like since the 1600s, there's been no like true reason for any African nation to flourish because it's just been like especially like because like the more that I think about it, like no one you had war of people fighting each other off. You had Muslims coming in. You had Europeans doing the slave trade. Like it's just like it got so like it never really had a chance after that time period. Like, and I don't know what happened. Like, my history is fuzzy between like like ancient empires versus like
But
the regular tribe states before like the 14 to the 1600s. So it's like I don't know what happened. I can't remember.
um, sure, but I think the other big reason why it just African countries are just poor on average and they just don't do as well is just because a lot of them, well, because we tend to think of just the blob of just Africans. It's like saying Asians or Europeans. It's like it's a blanket term, and it's like like the African, a lot of the nations in Africa are not as like homogenous as nations in Europe or have traditionally been in Europe,
Yeah, no
right?
shit.
So
They
like,
fight each other.
well, right, because it's all just like it's still tribalism down there, and there's like 500 different ethnicities in like every single country. Like that, and that, yeah, exactly. Like they just fight each other within, and like,
Yeah, but you would think even like in our most not recent history, but like I said, but from like and I'm off base because I don't know. I'm guessing. There's like there's not one major prominent empire or country or some sort of state that dominated like the majority of Africa, and that was like the homogenous culture. That's what I don't understand.
oh yeah, why that happened? Yeah, that's I need to look more into that. Yeah, because like Europe had had Rome, and then Asia
Like
had
let's say
China and all this stuff. Yeah, other than the
like
Mongols.
like pre-slavery, right? Like I don't know when slavery in Africa for obviously when I say slavery in Africa, I guess I mean like not in Egypt and not in like the
Yeah, you mean
like
like
the
West Africa? Yeah.
yeah like the transatlantic slave trade like that like around the 1600s. So it's like before that happened. Like I don't know why there was not one dominating empire in Africa.
I mean, it's probably because a lot of these people were like Neolithic.
Yeah, but that just means
That,
like they fall easier to like I said like they had prominent empires in ancient civilizations. So I don't know why none of them like emerged into one massive one like
what I'm saying is, oh, sorry.
because like they weren't like to say that like most of Africa is Neolithic is like it's that it
No,
wasn't always like that.
but you do know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah, I get that
Well,
part, but they're
yeah,
so small. Like they're little sects. Like they're not massive. Like, Africa had
I don't know.
massive
It's just
empires. Like I think Ghana was the most insane empire. Like what I guess is I don't know like what happened to them. So like what like where did they go to where most people were just they went back to like these feudal tribal states like before Europeans and all that shit got involved. That's what I don't remember.
yeah. Well, I guessed Neolithic because like in the Americas, like there's no way that the Incas could ever figure out the existence of the Aztecs, just because, well, not just because of geographical differences, but just
Well, I thought those happened like 100 years apart. They weren't even in the same time period.
I don't know if it was regardless who it is, like South American Indians could have never figured out about Central American Indians or the North American Indians because like they didn't have the transportation, right, and the domestication.
Right.
So like they couldn't transport things, they couldn't trade. Like there's no reason to move from like where you were. So
I guess it just comes down to like geographically where you are and like how many wars have been fought and how much mixing has been going on because I mean obviously like people like Europe was feudal for a long time
oh
and then
yeah,
eventually just came to like dominating powers. So it's like I don't know how that advancement just came out of nowhere only for
I
once.
mean,
The Chinese, I mean obviously the Chinese were a close second. Like they were building like global empire shit.
oh yeah. Well, so like
They
a
invented
big
gunpowder for fuck's sake.
yeah, a big part of it, I think, is just the centrality of language in European nations. Because they were really good at like making institutions and setting up like languages as the official language in an institution, right? And like things need to be done in this language, and they were just better at assimilating people to one cultural identity. Um, like because just Europeans they're just better at making institutions than Africans and Asians. Like that's just something that they're better at doing. Like specifically like the English. The English are extremely good at making
Yeah.
institutions. That's why like
What I'm saying is
almost all countries that speak English have never really gone into tyranny, whereas like or socialism or whatever it is or totalitarianism, where like on average, a lot of these more of these language, sorry, more of these countries that speak Spanish are like much more likely to fall into all that stuff. But sorry, what were you saying?
I don't know if you can definitively say that though, because like there's so much
Well,
shit that's been lost to
I
time
said
and so many other
I
factors. Like
think
we don't
I don't
definitively
know.
know that.
Well, no, I just said I think. Like
Oh,
I was just making my projection. I'm not saying this is why. I'm just saying like this is what I think is probably why. And because like with the language, because when you share a language, you share a culture, right? Um, and
well, I think the
the
language part
more
makes sense. I think that I don't know about the technology part because like I
I don't know.
like
I
there
guess
had to
just
been
if you speak,
something.
I don't know. I mean, it's just if you speak the same language, you're able to work more communally, and you're more intertrusting and interpeaceful. I don't know. That's how I do things. But I actually really need to go to bed.
Oh shit! I
Um,
didn't realize this is late.
yeah, I know.
Almost
And
made 3 hours.
we didn't even really talk about Amores Perros. No, not Amores Perros. Babel.
Well, we summarized it. We got a.
But I think we pretty much did. We summarized our thoughts. And you like Amores Perros better?
I feel like I need to watch them again. I can't
Oh
like.
yeah.
To me, they're kind of
So
equal at the moment.
all right. So where does City of God rank in this?
Ooh, I think. So I think it's the City God is second. The first one is the. I keep forgetting the name of the fucking movie.
Sin nombre.
Yeah, Sin Nombre. I think that's first, and then this Babel movie, and then Amoris Paros. I think.
And City. Wait. So say it again. It's Sin nombre, and then City of God, right?
Yeah, and then
Oh yeah. Okay. Then
yeah, and then Amoris.
Amores
I think it.
Perros Babel.
Yeah, I think just based off of just me
Man,
enjoying it, that's the rate of them.
you enjoyed Babel the least. Man, I thought you were gonna.
No, that's what I'm saying. I didn't enjoy any of them the least. So I'm saying if I like this, the ones that I like the most in order, I guess.
I got you. I got you.
That's why I don't
Um,
like doing lists because it's not how I feel.
right. That's something we differ. But man, I need to go to bed. I didn't realize how late it was. Gotta go back to Yep.
Sleep tight, fascissimo.
All right. I don't even know what you said, but okay.
Night.
Good night, man.